Hey guys. This is part 8 of What If Naruto Was the Older Brother of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are paid, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 41, Genin Days, Chapter 26, Preparation for Exams. In the Hokage's office, a few weeks after Naruto's return, a few dozen jonins were packed into the Hokage's office, and talked amongst themselves as they waited for the Hokage to address them as to why he summoned them. They were already pretty sure what the topic was about. The Chunin exams. It was one of the biggest events in the village, as the event happened every 6 months, rotating between the villages each time, and guests from many different villages, including some from the capital cities, would come visit to see the spectacle. It was a huge undertaking for the hosting village, one that allowed the village to show off their village's amenities, beauty, splendor, and strength, as well receive a huge economic boost from the influx of guests during the duration of the exams. These pros, however, came with the cons and a need for increased security for both the guests, but also for the village, as it was easy for spies to sneak in with so many new faces in the village. But the true objective of the exams was to showcase the potential of your village's shinobi, and the stars of the inter-village event would be the genin who participated with the hopes of getting promoted in the exams. You could be promoted in the field as chunin, but the genin who were promoted in the exams were seen as special, and were given more attention and support for their development. So, you think you're going to enter your team in the chunin exams this year? Nah. They could still use some more experience. I don't want to risk them getting hurt too seriously. I've heard we even got some teams coming from AIM this year. Those sadistic bastards. How about you? I think my team might be ready, but maybe it wouldn't hurt to wait for the next one. Asuma and Kurenai, two Jonin sensei, waited for the Hokage to arrive as they listened to the different Jonin sensei discuss whether they would enter their teams or not. I wonder how many teams are going to enter from the Leaf this year, Asuma commented to Kurenai. Seems like they don't trust their teams. Kurenai commented. I'm surprised that so many people already made up their minds not to enter their teams. It's the more responsible thing to make sure your genin are ready before you force them into the exams. You know dozens of genin participants die each time, right? Asuma asked Kurenai, who was a relatively new jonin. That many die each time? Kurenai asked in surprise. She had been promoted in the field, and she had only seen the tournament stage of the Chunin exams, which had much fewer deaths due to the presence of a proctor. You mean there's a high chance that my genin might actually die in these exams? Asuma chuckled at Kurenai. What, were you planning on entering genin or something? Kurenai nodded. Of course. I believe in my team's ability. They've come a long way, you know. It's my duty to help achieve their dreams, and this exam is a great way to start. Weren't you going to enter your team? Asuma shrugged. I don't know. I was going to ask my team, but I'm not sure they'll actually sign up for it. Besides, it's very rare that a rookie team enters the Chunin exams. I suppose that's true too. Kurenai began to wonder if she should nominate her team after all. Hiruzen entered the room with Irika at that moment. I see you've all gathered. Apologies if I kept you waiting. Hiruzen told the jonin as he went to his desk. The jonin all quieted down when the Hokage sat at his desk. Now, I'm sure that Hiruzen was interrupted when the door opened, and Kakashi and Naruto walked in. Yo. Kakashi greeted everyone with a 2-finger salute. Is Kakashi a Jonin sensei? Why is he here? Kurenai asked Asuma, who just shrugged. It seems that we are late. Sorry, Hokage-sama. Naruto told Hiruzen as he glared at Kakashi, who avoided eye contact to go stand next to a different Jonin sensei who was clad in green. Hiruzen chuckled. It's fine. Now, as I was saying, I'm sure that most of you know why I've called you all to my office. As you are aware, the Chunin exams will take place in our village in a little under a month. The Jonin senseis nodded. Now, before I take any nominations for teams, I'd like to remind you of the purpose of the exams. While the exams do serve as a way for genin to be promoted into Chunin, let's remember that it's also a way to show off the strength of our future Chunin and Jonin to potential clients, but also to our rivals. It's also a way for villages to release bad blood or tension between villages, by showing each other up through our genin. As such, I'm sure you are aware of the inherent risk of death that comes with these exams. Hiruzen looked over the Jonin before him to make sure they all understood before he continued. If you do not feel that your team is able to adequately represent our village, or if you do not feel like they are ready to participate, do not feel compelled to nominate your team. Hiruzen reminded everyone. With that being said, I'd now like to hear if any of you would like to nominate your team for the Chunin exams. He finally announced. Yash! The noble green beast of Konoha, Mike Guy would like to nominate Team 9 for the Chunin exams. A man with a bowl cut and a tight green jumpsuit shouted out enthusiastically with an overly brilliant smile and a thumbs up. Hiruzen chuckled at the antics of one his most powerful, but also quirkiest Jonin. Alright, Guy. I'll put your team down for the exams. Irika, would you mind writing down the names of his genin on the list? Hiruzen asked. Hi. Right away, Hokage-sama. Irika replied before he started writing. After Guy, several Jonin sensei of the older genin teams began to nominate their teams. Kurenai looked around and saw none of the Jonin sensei of rookie genin teams were raising their hands, and debated internally if she should just wait for next time. As she was about to make up her mind to wait, Naruto's hand went up, much to the surprise of the others that were present. I'd like to nominate Team 7 for the Chunin exams, Naruto said lazily. There was silence in the room as many of the senseis present looked at Naruto like he was crazy. There hadn't been a rookie team in the Chunin exams since Naruto and Itachi's team, and that was over 10 years ago. Why, are you serious? A Jonin asked, breaking the silence. Naruto didn't respond. Are you sure you want your team in the exams? We're expecting a fairly large showing this time around, which means increased risks. We even have a team coming from a new village in the land of rice paddies. We don't know what to expect, and we can't guarantee the safety of your genin. Hiruzen told Naruto, making sure he was aware of the risks imposed on his genin, specifically Narumi. I'm aware, Naruto replied. And I have complete faith that, not only will my genin make a good showing, but they'll make it to the final round, and even be the top contenders. At this, some of the Jonin began to scoff. Did he really think his rookie team could beat their more experienced genin? Some of the most experienced genin were almost 20 years old, or even older. Did he think some little 12-year-old children who had been doing D-ranks for a few months would stand a chance? They hadn't even hit puberty, for goodness sake. Their scoffing and murmurs were not missed by Naruto, who became irritated. However, he kept his face blank. And Naruto-san? Are you sure about this? Irika asked. I'm aware that some of your genin are quite talented, but they were in the academy not too long ago. Is it wise to put them into such a dangerous setting so soon? Wouldn't it be better to wait until the next one? Most senseis wait until their genin have more experience under their belts. He told Naruto in concern for his former students. All of my genin are very talented, Irika-san, Naruto said in a cold tone that made the hair on the back of Irika's neck stand up. I don't care what they were doing however many months ago. What matters is how prepared they are now, and you don't know anything about that, so I don't know why you think there's any weight to your opinion. Why don't you tell me your opinion on the matter when I actually ask for it? Naruto replied rudely, making Irika flinch back in surprise. And besides, I don't care what the other Jonin sensei do. I'm not like the other senseis who have no faith in their genin, because they did a shitty job in training and preparing them for life as shinobi. I know what my genin are capable of, because I actually care about their training and development, and I know they can easily handle whatever this Chunin exam has to offer. Many of the Jonin became furious at Naruto's jab at their capacity as Jonin sensei, and didn't hide their displeasure of Naruto and his assessment. Why, that arrogant bastard! How good of a sensei does he think he is? Just because he's strong and has the Hokage's favor, does he think he can just do and say whatever he wants? Naruto ignored all of the grumbling and complaints that were coming from the others. He didn't concern himself with the opinions of people that were insignificant in his life. Hiruzen sighed as he watched Naruto alienate himself further from his peers. What did he have against them? Did he have to be so rude? The tension in the room and volume of the grumbles continued to rise until another hand quietly went up into the air, catching the attention of others. I, Yuhi Kurenai, would also like to nominate Team 8 for the Chunin exams. Naruto looked over at the small woman who had a determined look on her face and gave her a small grin. It looked like he wasn't the only one who took their jobs as Jonin sensei seriously, and actually had faith in their rookie genin. Gasps broke out all over the room. Really? This woman was going to risk her genin as well? Ah, screw it. I might as well go for it too, a large man next to Kurenai stated. I'd like to nominate Team 10 as well. Hiruzen looked at his son silently for a few seconds before he turned to Irika. Well, you heard them. Add Team 7, 8, and 10 to the list as well. Irika looked at Hiruzen in shock for giving them permission, but he was merely a Chunin school teacher, and he was the Hokage, so he quietly complied. The other Jonin senseis were shocked. It looked like there would actually be 3 rookie teams in the exams this year. This was unprecedented. Well, if that's all, I'm outta here. I'll see you next time, Hokage-sama, Naruto said casually, before he raised his hands to perform the hand seals for the Shunshin. Good luck to you and your teams, Kurenai-san, Asuma-san, Naruto said with a grin of approval, before he vanished in a swirl of leaves. Why that arrogant prick? We'll see how great your genin really are. One disgruntled Jonin yelled out after Naruto left, which was a sentiment shared amongst many of the Jonin. And with that, he just painted a huge target on the backs of his genin. Asuma commented to Kurenai. Interesting character, isn't he? I can't seem to really understand his character. Sometimes he seems like a sweet and caring person, but sometimes he just seems like a villain. Kurenai replied as she shook her head. While his belief in his students is quite admirable, what an unyouthful attitude. Might Guy commented to Kakashi. How did you manage to befriend such an unyouthful person? Guy asked. Kakashi looked up lazily from his book. Did you say something? Darn you and your lazy, hip attitude! Guy yelled out with a trail of tears streaming from his eyes. Hiruzen chuckled at the scene. Well, at the very least, it looked like this year's Chunin exams were going to be interesting. At Training Ground 7. Not bad, but watch this, Sasuke said with a grin before he skipped a rock across the stream and hit a target on the other side. His grin widened. Looks like somebody lost another bet. So, when can I expect you to finish cleaning my kanai and my room by? Oh. And remember, no shadow clones. Grah! How? Narumi growled in frustration as she threw a stone into the ground. How was this annoying prick so good at throwing? Sheesh, Narumi, why so angry? Naruto asked as he appeared in a swirl of leaves. Oh, you know, she's just coming to terms that I'm better, Sasuke said with an innocent-sounding voice, but an arrogant expression on his face in contrast. Narumi was shaking with rage, but she couldn't say anything since he was right. At least when it came to throwing. That didn't stop her, however, from giving him a glare that looked like it could set things on fire with a glance. Naruto chuckled as he shook his head. You kids and your games. Looks like me and Hinata-chan are the only normal ones here, eh? Hinata-chan? Hinata blushed when her sensei suddenly called her out. Anyway, I have an announcement to make. We won't be taking any more missions for the time being, Naruto announced to his team. Eh? Narumi and Sasuke shouted in unison at the same time. But you just got here. Our last C rank was boring. We didn't even get to do any fighting. We were hoping to do fun A rank missions with you again. Narumi whined. You're not really supposed to be fighting anyone on C rank missions, except maybe fending off a bandit or two. Rookie genin like you aren't supposed to be taking anything higher than that in the first place. The mission to Wave that ended up as an A rank mission was an accident, and you haven't had any other missions higher than a C rank since then, except maybe Taki, which might be a B rank at most. Naruto explained. Actually, that was an A-. Narumi was cut off by Sasuke, who clamped his hand around her mouth. Didn't this idiot remember that they weren't supposed to talk about Taki? What's the reason we won't be taking any more missions, sensei? Sasuke asked, trying to take Naruto's attention away from Narumi. Naruto gave the two a curious look, before he decided to just pretend he didn't see anything and just answer his question. He pulled out 3 papers, and handed one to each of his genin, who read over them. The Chunin exams? Narumi asked with one eyebrow raised. That's right. I've nominated Team 7 to participate in the upcoming Chunin exams. That's why we'll be focusing on honing your skills and teamwork instead of taking missions, Naruto replied. Does that mean we get to be Chunin soon? Narumi asked with stars in her eyes. Sweet! Sasuke shared her sentiment, and was excited to create his legacy. A Chunin at age 12? That would be quite impressive. He was excited to be able to show off his skills on the big stage, and make a name for himself. Hinata, however, did not feel the same as her 2 teammates. The Chunin exams? But sensei, aren't rookies not allowed to enter? Eh? Why not? Narumi asked. Many of the genin that participate in the exams die each time. Hinata explained. I heard that's why they don't let rookies enter. Sasuke and Narumi's enthusiasm died down a little, as they began to consider the risk of death. Hinata's right. Dozens of genin do die in every Chunin exams, Naruto stated, further scaring his genin. However, I believe know how talented and skilled you guys are. You guys were talented coming into Team 7, and I've personally seen the hard work you've put in, and have seen how much you progressed since then. I don't mean to gas you guys up, but I think you guys will blow the other genin out of the water, Naruto told his team, who began to look more hopeful again. Now ultimately, the choice to participate is up to you, but I have complete faith in your abilities. Whether you participate or not, how I view you guys or think of you won't change at all. But I think pushing yourself to the limits is the best way to really reach your potential, and this might be the best opportunity to do that, so give it some thought. Narumi and Sasuke's eyes met and they nodded. They had made up their minds to enter the exams. However, when they turned to look at Hinata, they could still see the fear and doubt in her eyes. Are you going to participate? Sasuke asked Hinata. I don't know. We're just rookies, and sure you guys are as strong, but I don't know if I'm good enough to participate, Hinata admitted. What? That's nonsense, Hinata-chan. You're super strong. You're the best from the three of us when it comes to taijutsu, and you're really good with throwing things too, Narumi told Hinata. Yeah. Definitely better than Red over here, Sasuke added. Hey! Watch it! Narumi told Sasuke with a glare. He just gave her a grin. Your Byakugan is also crucial when it comes to dispelling genjutsu or scouting as well. You're an indispensable part of this team, so don't count yourself short, Sasuke added on. So, what do you want to do, Hinata-chan? If you really don't want to participate, we'll wait until you're ready. Remember, we're a team, and we'll always have your back. We'll stick with whatever decision you make, Narumi told Hinata with a warm smile. Hinata looked at her two friends with a grateful smile. Their faith in her, and also their willingness to always stick by her side and watch her back gave her the confidence she needed so desperately. As sensei? I think no, I want to participate in the exams as well, Hinata told Naruto as the expression on her face changed from one of self-doubt into one of determination. Naruto smiled warmly at Hinata, but also the rest of his team. His heart was filled with pride in his team, with the way they looked out for each other and encouraged each other. He couldn't ask for a better team. Glad to hear that. I'm proud of you guys for showing the initiative and courage to take on a big challenge like this, and even more proud at the support you show for each other. I'm now sure I was right in believing in you guys, and made the right decision in nominating you guys, Naruto told his team, and they beamed in pride at the praise. Now, as long as you have my permission, you're allowed to participate, but I still want you to go tell your parents and get their permission and blessings as well. You'll need all the support you can get, and I don't want you to be sneaking behind their backs at an event that's supposed to be something they can take pride in, Naruto told his team, and they nodded. However, Hinata was worried inside. How was she going to bring this up to her father? At the Uchiha household, Mikoto smiled as she watched Sasuke hungrily place a umeboshi-flavored pickled tomato on his rice before he ate it with gusto. There was a period after the massacre when Sasuke had been turning colder and detached, but Naruto and Narumi had helped him come back and retain his traits from childhood. Sasuke was happily eating his favorite dish, until he noticed his mom staring at him with a smile on her face. Something on my face? He asked as he wiped around his face, making sure he wasn't eating too messily. Mikoto chuckled. She reached over and gently caressed one of his cheeks. It's nothing. I was just looking at my handsome boy. You're growing up so quickly, you know. Keika-san, Sasuke whined. I'm not a baby anymore. Of course, honey. You're a genin now. I know you're not a child anymore, Mikoto replied. But no matter how old you get, you'll always be my baby. He pouted at being called a baby, but that reminded him of what he needed to tell his mother. Oh, that reminds me, Sasuke mentioned as he pulled out the application form for the Chunin exams. Naruto and I-san signed us up for the Chunin exams. He did what? Mikoto shouted out in shock, all traces of her warm smile disappearing as she snatched the paper from her son's hands to examine it. He signed us up for the exams. That means I have the chance to become Chunin, Sasuke said excitedly, not realizing his mother was in near panic. You're aware that people die in the exams, right? Mikoto asked her son in concern. Sasuke nodded. Yes, sure, but you can die at any time. You could die on a C-rank mission, but you could also slip on a wet tile and hit your head. Mikoto was not convinced. The Chunin exams were much more dangerous than any C-rank, or maybe even some B-rank missions, since their sensei would not be present with them. She was worried she'd lose her last remaining child. Are you sure you want to participate? Wouldn't it better to wait a little longer? Get more experience and all? She asked her son. Kaa-san, you said you wouldn't baby me anymore. Why are you so worried? You don't think I can handle some other genin? Sasuke asked. It's not that. I know you're strong. Mikoto began. It's just that, it's hard for me not be worried. You're my last. Mikoto began to choke up. You're all I have left. Sasuke couldn't be mad at his mother at the sight of tears streaming down her face. He got out of his seat and walked over to his mother to pat her back and comfort her. Kaa-san, I know you're concerned that I might get hurt, but you don't have to worry. I have Narumi and Hinata with me, and they'll have my back. Sasuke told Mikoto in an effort to assuage her fears. Mikoto smiled a little as she wiped her tears. She was so thankful that Sasuke had his friends, and he was lucky enough to be on the same team as them. I'm glad to hear that. It makes me happy to know you have friends you can trust your life with. Mikoto told Sasuke as she took him into a hug. All right. You can take the exams. You have my blessing. Mikoto relented. Sasuke gave her a wide smile. Thanks, Kaa-san. I promise I won't let you down. I'll show everyone that the Uchiha clan is still strong. Mikoto smiled. I know you will. And I'm going to teach you some new things to help you in the exams too. Sasuke had stars in his eyes. He was always excited to learn more jutsu. His mother had never looked so cool before. At the Hyuga household, the Hyuga main family and the head of the branch family were seated together, having dinner. Hayashi-sama. Hizashi began. Niji has informed me that his sensei has signed him up for the upcoming Chunin exams. Hayashi nodded as he ate. I see. I am aware of his talent as a shinobi, and his skill with the Jukin. I am sure he will bring honor to the clan with his performance. He has my blessing to go represent our clan in the exams. Thank you, Hayashi-sama. Hizashi said with a bow, and turned to his son, Niji. Thank you, Hayashi-sama. Niji reluctantly told his uncle. He hated bowing to the man, but that was his place in life. I'll do my best to bring honor to the clan. Good. I have no doubt in your ability, Hayashi told Niji. While he didn't show it on his face, Hayashi was jealous of his brother Hizashi. Hayashi was stronger than Hizashi, but how come Hizashi had the son who was the epitome of Hyuga's strength, while he ended up with a meek daughter who couldn't even defeat her sister who was 5 years younger? Was this some sort of cruel joke of destiny? He sometimes wished Niji was his son instead of Hinata. He would have been the ideal heir. He shook his head when caught himself thinking that again. How could he wish Hinata wasn't his daughter? She was the spitting image of his wife. He sighed in disappointment in himself. He was an excellent clan head, but Hinata was proof that he was an inadequate father. If only he could make her stronger somehow. Hinata, meanwhile, nervously picked at her food. She was working up the courage to tell her father that she would be participating in the exams as well, but her uncle cut in and made her lose the timing and courage. Stop picking at your food, Hinata. Either eat it or leave it. It's bad manners. Hayashi scolded Hinata, as he ate his food with elegance and grace. Hi. Apologies, Ota-sama. Hinata responded. However, she was still nervous and was working up the courage to address her father, and she continued to fidget, thought she left her rice alone. If there is something you wish to say it, instead of fidgeting around, Hayashi sternly told Hinata when he noticed her movements. Eep! Hinata's face went red when she was caught. Now she had to speak, whether she was ready or not. I've also been nominated for the Sechunin exams, Ota-sama. Hinata nervously informed her father. The other elders of the clan had been eating quietly, but when they heard this, they couldn't help but express their surprise. You've been nominated for the Chunin exams? As a rookie genin? One of the main family members asked. Hi. Hinata confirmed meekly. The adults present began to murmur amongst themselves. How had she been nominated for the Chunin exams so early? Niji was considered to be nominated early, and he was prodigy of the clan, and he was in his second year. Hinata showed no such promise, and here she was, as one of the first rookie genin in the exams in over a decade. Niji scowled when he heard Hinata. How had this weakling been nominated earlier than him? Great. More favoritism for the main family. They just couldn't let a branch member have his moment for once. Of course, they'll have to throw the main family a bone to remind us of our place. He thought to himself. Hayashi was also shocked by the news. There had been no indication that she was good enough to put herself in such a risky situation. He was of course worried that she might make a bad showing and disgrace him and the clan, but he was also worried that his daughter might die before he had a chance to work out the problems in their relationship. And you wish to participate? Hayashi asked Hinata with a stern look to dissuade her. Being the meek child that she was, he thought that would be enough to discourage her. Hinata shrank under his gaze, but she had already promised her friends that she would participate with them. She gulped once to gather her courage. Hi Ota-sama, she replied quietly. And you believe you're prepared for such an undertaking? You've barely been a genin for a few months. There will be people coming from other villages who have much more experience as a shinobi, and more experience with killing. Hayashi emphasized the last part to discourage his daughter. I am aware of that, Ota-sama. I still wish to participate. She barely managed to reply. And why is that? Have you considered what it would be like if you went in unprepared and embarrassed yourself? Embarrass the clan? As a clan heiress, you should know your actions affect the standing of the whole clan, and not just yourself. Think like a clan heiress, Hinata, and make responsible decisions. I don't believe you're ready for the Chunin exams yet, Hayashi stated. Hanabi looked at her older sister with a concerned look. She knew her sister was strong, and could prove it if she entered the exams. She just hoped Hinata wouldn't be discouraged by her father's harsh words. One-chan, Hinata's face fell, and her already small confidence in herself began to falter at his words. However, when she caught Hizashi's look towards her, a look which told her to believe in herself, she was reminded of the faith Naruto and her friends had put in her. She couldn't let herself be discouraged and let them down. Why you wrong, Ota-sama? I am ready, she replied with growing steel in her voice which caught everyone off guard, especially Hayashi. What was that? Hayashi asked with a glare, showing her that he was not pleased with her challenging him in front of everyone. However, Hinata didn't care about that anymore. She owed it to her team who trusted her, and she owed it to herself to enter the Chunin exams to prove herself. I said I was ready for the Chunin exams, and I planned to enter. Ota-sama, she said firmly, surprising Hayashi by not stuttering, and with the fire he saw in her eyes. Hanabi was startled as well, but was excited to see this side of her sister. Go, One-chan! Show him that you're not weak! She cheered on mentally as she watched how the scene unfolded with interest in her eyes. Hayashi was a little offended by how Hinata addressed him, but he was secretly pleased with the backbone she was showing by standing up to him. He decided to test her resolve a little further. You wish to go against my wishes and participate? Very well. If you're so confident in your abilities, you can participate. However, should you embarrass the clan, know that your position as heiress will pass on to your sister. Do you still wish to participate? Hayashi asked. Yes. Hinata replied. You don't need to worry about me embarrassing the clan, Ota-sama. My team and I are more than capable of handling this exam together. If you watch and are displeased with my performance, you may give her the position if you'd like. I don't mind. Hayashi stared at the fiery genin in front of him, and wondered if she was truly his daughter. He didn't express it, but he was impressed, and he wasn't the only one. Hizashi, Hanabi, and the other elders watched the conversation between father and daughter with interest, and were surprised to see this side of Hinata. Perhaps there was more to her than they had thought. Fine. You may participate if you wish. We shall see how you perform, Hayashi stated before he went back to eating his dinner. Proud of herself for finally being able to face her father, and seeing a glimpse of approval from him for the first time, Hinata smiled brightly, a rare sight for the Hyuga clan. Realizing he hadn't seen her smile like this in a long time made Hayashi feel sad, and a little remorseful. However, Niji was displeased at what he thought was favoritism. Not just from their clan, but from the village. He made up his mind to embarrass her during the exams himself, and show the main family that the branch family was not inferior to them. Training Ground 7, the next day. So, have you guys all filled out and signed the application forms? Naruto asked his genin. Hi, sensei. The 3 genin answered, as they handed him the papers. Very good. Naruto replied as he collected the forms. Now let me lay out the schedule for your training. He began. From the spars between you 3, and the spars against me, I've picked up a few weak points in your individual styles, and also in teamwork. We'll use a similar training schedule as before, where I'll get a personal tutor for each of you, and train you each, one at a time. We'll also go over some team drills at the end of training on every week, got it? Any questions? Narumi raised her hand. Will Yugao-sensei be coming to train me again? Naruto nodded. You and Sasuke will each have the same sensei as before. The only change will be for Hinata. Hinata's eyes widened. What happened to Shizen-sensei? She asked in surprise. She had grown to like the woman, and was a little disappointed that she wouldn't be training her. Shizen-san has already taught you the things I wanted you to learn. There are other things I want you to learn, and the sensei I brought is the best person to teach you those things. Naruto explained. Brought? Sasuke asked with an eyebrow raised. He didn't see anyone. Oh. Naruto-chan. Way to go with the flattery. I really am the best, aren't I? Anko replied as she stepped out of the woods with Kakashi, who walked out with Anko's arm around his shoulders as he read his book, and Yugao who walked behind them with a confused look on her face. What was going on with Kakashi-senpai and Anko? Sasuke's face went white and hid behind Narumi. If it isn't my favorite Uchiha boy. Hello? Anko greeted a scared Sasuke with a grin that was a strange combination of innocent and mischievous. Dango Ne-chan is going to be teaching Hinata? Narumi asked. That's right, Squirt. I'm going to teach her how to be a kick-ass kunoichi. That's both deadly and sexy, just like me. Anko replied energetically. Sasuke reached out and put a hand on Hinata's shoulder. Sorry, but it sucks to be you right now, he mouthed to her. Hinata gulped. Anko-san was a little too intense for her. She was worried about how training would go. Hinata-chan is a bit shy, so be nice to her, okay, Dangone? Narumi told Anko. Who? Me? I'm nothing but sweet girly. Don't worry about us. The 2 of yous are going to be best friends. Isn't that right, Hinata-chan? Anko asked Hinata as she slithered her arm over Hinata's shoulders. Hinata nodded nervously. Please save me, Kami-sama. Hinata prayed to herself. Council meeting, a couple days later. All right. We'll make sure the Konoha police force double their patrols during the exams, and have the ANBU watch the shadows then. Hiruzen concluded after some discussion with his council. I'll also try to see if I can secure some more food and other provisions for extra guests who will be in the village during the exams, Hokage-sama. Akimichi Chuza informed the Hokage. Good. That'll be extremely beneficial for our economy. Thank you, Chuza-san. Hiruzen replied. Now that we've covered all of the main points that we needed to discuss, I'd like to dismiss the civilian side of the council. I have some shinobi matters I'd like to discuss, Hiruzen told the council, and the civilian council members nodded and left the room. A little after the last civilian council member left the council meeting room, Hiruzen addressed the remaining people. Now that the civilians are gone, there's something I'd been considering that I'd like to discuss. Hiruzen began. I'm sure all of you have heard about Naruto-san's achievements in Kiri, correct? The Sandaime asked, and everyone nodded. Good. So, I've been thinking about his mission, and the things he was able to accomplish undercover, and began to consider the merit of having a Black Ops force for missions that cannot be traced back to Konoha. Don't we already have the ANBU for that? Tsunade asked. Hiruzen shook his head. What I'm talking about is different. The ANBU are secret in the sense that their individual identities are hidden, but it's clear they represent Konoha. I'm talking about a force that will not be traced back to Konoha. On paper, these shinobi will not even exist. You mean like Root from the past? Shikaku commented. Root? Tsunade asked, asking a question that was in the minds of several others that were in the room. Root was a branch of the ANBU that was secret, and like I mentioned earlier, was used in missions that should not be traced back to Konoha. Hiruzen began. Danzo began to feel nervous about where the conversation was going, though nobody could tell by seeing him. It was previously headed by Danzo, but I ordered him to shut the program down, years ago. Isn't that right, Danzo? Hiruzen asked with a smug smirk on his face that everyone missed except for Danzo. That is correct. Danzo replied tersely. Excuse me, Hokage-sama, but what exactly is the point of doing this? Chuz asked. There will be times when we wish to support another village against a rival village, but if our involvement became known, would spark off another war. With the alliances that are in place, it would quickly spread to involve all 5 of the major villages, and the casualties from that war will be catastrophic. Having a mercenary force that is not linked to us will give us the option to help others secretly, while keeping conflicts localized. Of course, they could also be used to do more unsavory missions that would prove necessary or maybe even profitable, but might tarnish the image of the village. Hiruzen explained, and everyone agreed with his points. The formation of the unit will not take place until after the Chunin exams, as all of our attention should be on hosting the exams safely and successfully. However, it doesn't hurt to get started on planning, or at least be aware of such plans early. Any suggestions that could improve this new version of Root would be welcomed. I have a suggestion, Naruto stated, as he raised his hand. Danzo began to suspect the 2 of them were planning something against him, and put up his guard. Ah yes. Naruto-san. What do you suggest? Hiruzen asked. We could start by giving them a very neutral-looking set of armor or uniform, that will make it difficult to tell where they came from. Naruto told Hiruzen. Do we have any examples of their old uniforms to see what they looked like, so we can see what needs to be changed? Of course. I should have one somewhere. Hiruzen replied, as he began to go through some scrolls. Danzo was now really nervous. What were they about to do? Here it is. Hiruzen unsealed a set of Root ANBU armor and uniform, which really looked like standard Konoha ANBU gear with a black cloak covering everything. The cloak does a nice job of covering everything, but the armor is too similar to Konoha ANBU armor, and the mask has a distinct Konoha flavor. We'll have to come up with something more neutral. Naruto commented. Great point. We'll keep that in mind. Hiruzen replied. Anything else? The other shinobi began to voice their opinions, and Hiruzen had them all written down. While the discussions were ongoing, there were 2 people in the room who shared a look. Danzo gave Hiruzen a blank stare, hiding his emotions, but he was raging inside. With this, he had exposed Danzo's operation and let everyone know that Hiruzen ordered it to be shut down years ago. Now anyone seen wearing that armor would basically let everyone know of Danzo's treachery. Hiruzen gave his old teammate a smile. If Danzo wanted to play games, then Hiruzen would show that he was no amateur either. A hidden grove outside of Konoha, a few days later. I trust you've come alone? A hooded man with a cane asked another hooded man who had been waiting for him. If it isn't Danzo-sama. It's been a long time, hasn't it? The second man hissed out with a snake-like grin. Save your pleasantries for someone else, Orochimaru. We have things to discuss. Danzo replied. Straight to business, eh? Looks like nothing's changed. Reminds me of the past. It always was fun scheming with you. Orochimaru commented. Danzo ignored Orochimaru's comments. So, you're planning an invasion of Konoha, and want my help? I see you're still well informed. That's right. You and your little root forces can help my forces enter Konoha, and leave some key choke points open so that I can deal with our enemies. Orochimaru replied. Our enemies? Danzo asked. Kukuku, don't play this game with me, Danzo. We both know what you want, and we both know that Sarutobi-sensei is holding you back from attaining it. So, what is it you want? Danzo asked. So I can get everything I want, eh? Orochimaru chuckled. First, I want all of the research materials I had to leave behind in Konoha. Some of the more dangerous things have been destroyed, but I'll get the other remaining things. Next? Danzo asked. Kukuku, destroyed? Or kept in that little burrow of yours, Danzo? Orochimaru asked. And what else? Danzo asked, silently conceding to hand over the dangerous material he had hoarded for Root. I would like some orphans for some tests. Orochimaru added. Done. Now I need Dash, and I also want an Uchiha with an awakened Sharingan. Orochimaru added, cutting off Danzo mid-speech. A Sharingan? That's right. And a Hyuga as well. They could be one of the branch members. It doesn't matter. Orochimaru clarified. That's quite the demand. I'm afraid I'll have to add another target in exchange for those 2. Danzo told Orochimaru. Very well. Who is this special person? Orochimaru asked. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. I need him dead, Danzo informed Orochimaru. Kukuku, the Yandame's son, eh? So you fear him as well? Orochimaru said with a taunting grin. I need him gone, and I can't have it linked back to me. So don't leave a mess behind, Danzo replied. Have I been one to leave a job done badly? You leave those two to me. Just make sure you keep your end of the deal, Orochimaru told Danzo. Of course. Now, if there's nothing else, this meeting is over, Danzo told Orochimaru. He didn't want to drag out a meeting with Orochimaru and risk being spotted. Kukuku, thank you for your hospitality, Orochimaru replied sarcastically. I shall see you again soon. The two of them turned around and left, both parties planning on using each other and backstabbing them once they got what they needed. It would be a battle of timing, appearing to look cooperative until they got everything they wanted, and then dealing the first blow, before the other party had the chance to betray them first. Kukuku, here I come, Sarutobi-sensei, Orochimaru thought to himself as he vanished into the forest. Onmake Narumi gritted her teeth and pounded her fist into her palm as she walked down the streets. Grr! How dare he get me like that? Narumi growled as she recalled her punishment for the bet she lost against Sasuke. They had wagered to clean each other's equipment and rooms, but Narumi was not prepared for how dirty Sasuke had left his room. Oh no, you can't use your shadow clones since I can't use them if I lose. Narumi mockingly repeated what Sasuke said in her best impression of Sasuke's voice. TCHH. What a loser. Who told you to not know how to use them? It's not my fault you suck. Narumi grumbled to herself. Just how many stinking kunai and shuriken does he have, and why are they so dirty? And how do you keep your room that dirty? Even my room isn't that messy, she yelled to herself as she threw her hands in the air. Mikoto Obachan wouldn't let you keep your room that dirty. Narumi thought aloud to herself. So that means you made your room extra messy and stinky on purpose, she concluded. Ugh! You jerk! I'ma get you back for this, Uchiha Sasuke, she yelled out. Boss! Konohamaru greeted her when he saw her. Narumi turned her head and saw her three minions running to her. Oh, hey Konohamaru-chan, Moegi-chan, Udan-chan. What's up? She asked. We were playing ninja, Konohamaru told Narumi. Do you want to join us? We could use your help making it more realistic, since you're a real ninja, Nei-chan, Moegi asked. Play ninja? Narumi asked herself as she thought. An evil grin began to spread across her face as she had an epiphany. Sure. I'll play ninja with you guys, she replied as she began to chuckle to herself as she began to plan her revenge. Sweet! Are you going to give us a mission? Or do you want to be the bad guy? Konohamaru asked. I'll be your boss, and give you the mission, Narumi told her minions. Now gather around me, minions. Let me tell you something about being a shinobi, she began. The three excited kids came closer to her and gave her their attention to hear what she would say. Now, what do you think is important to a shinobi? She asked. Being strong, they replied in unison. Narumi chuckled. You're not wrong, but another super important thing is being sneaky. Oh, that makes sense, Konohamaru commented. Now, there's different types of being sneaky, Narumi explained. There are the people who are good at being stealthy, but there are also people who are good at acting to trick people. What kind of people are we? Moegi asked. You and Udan-chan are pretty good at acting, but not the best at stealth. Meanwhile, Konohamaru sucks at acting, but he's pretty good at hiding, Narumi explained. So as a boss, it's important for me to know what my minions are good at, and assign roles accordingly. I'll give you guys individual missions that'll suit what you're good at, but really all of those missions will be a part of a bigger single operation, Narumi told the three kids. The three kids were super excited. This was super realistic. It felt like they were actual ninja. They should have gotten her to play with them earlier. So, what do we have to do, boss? Konohamaru asked enthusiastically. So you can sneak into the Uchiha's house and sneak this into Sasuke's shampoo, Narumi told Konohamaru, as she pulled out a small vial from one of her seals. Eh? What's the point of this? Konohamaru asked as he took the vial. When you become a shinobi, there'll be times when you need to sneak into some secret location, and either steal things or plant things. This is all part of your training, Konohamaru-chan, she told him. Konohamaru lit up with a smile when he heard her explanation. That sounded legit. Now, Moegi-chan, you need to find Sasuke, and pretend you're lost and scared, and you need his help finding your way back. This is your training to learn how to trick people and give false information. Narumi told Moegi, who accepted the mission and the explanation. Finally, Udon-chan, find a bucket or pot with some dirt in it, and wait near Moegi-chan's house, and pretend to be clumsy and spill it on Sasuke. Narumi told Udon. This is She began to think of an explanation to tell Udon, but in reality, she had chosen him for the role because he really was clumsy, and nobody would question him making such a mistake. This is your training to do an ambush, and feign innocence. Yeah, feigning innocence after doing something so you don't get held responsible. Narumi told Udon, who nodded. Alright, my minions, go and do your missions. She told the 3 kids, who saluted her and ran off to fulfill their parts. Hee, time to get a camera and hide in Sasuke's house, she said to herself with an evil grin as she rubbed her palms together. Was Sasuke was walking back home from his training spot in a forest, as he chuckled to himself. He couldn't wait to see Narumi's face after all the work he made her do. He purposefully messed up his room, and left his dirty laundry all over the place. Heh, that'll teach you to challenge me, he thought to himself smugly, before he was distracted from his thoughts by a little girl. Help! Sasuke and Ai-chan. I haven't been to this part of the village before, and now I can't find my way back. I'm scared, Moegi said with teary eyes and her puppy dog look. Moegi? Sasuke asked in surprise, seeing one of Narumi's minions here. Fine. Come with me. I'll take you home. Sasuke rolled his eyes as he reluctantly agreed to take the little girl home. He walked into the more populated part of town, where Moegi began to direct him towards her house. Udon spotted Moegi coming and prepared to do his part of the mission. When Sasuke and Moegi got closer, he stepped out of the alley with his pot full of dirt. Oh, hey Moegi. Sasuke and Ai-san. Udon greeted as he ran towards them, trying to give the appearance of running by them. He waved at them to greet them, but then tripped on a rock and fell, sending the pot flying in the air. He looked up and saw Sasuke covered in dirt from head to toe. That wasn't how he was planning on accomplishing his mission, but a mission well done was a mission well done, right? Sorry, Sasuke and Ai-san. I was clumsy again. Udon apologized. Sasuke was annoyed, but he knew how clumsy the boy was, so he decided to let him go. It's fine. I'm just gonna go home and wash up. You can find your way home now, right? Sasuke asked Moegi. Uh-huh. It's right over here. Thanks, Ai-chan, she told Sasuke with a smile, before she headed home. Ugh. Now I gotta wash all of this dirt off of me, Sasuke grumbled to himself as he headed home. At the Uchiha household, Konohamaru was trying to climb into one of the windows of Sasuke's house, when he was stopped by an Uchiha civilian. Hey! Who are you, and what are you doing here? She asked. Konohamaru panicked and being caught but tried his best to come up with an excuse. I'm Sarutobi Konohamaru, and I was trying to enter this house, because Narumi-chan told me to deliver something here. Narumi-san? Oh, in that case, you're welcome here. Here, why don't you go in this way? The Uchiha woman told Konohamaru as she directed him towards an open door. Thanks? Konohamaru told the lady as she left. Now that he was in, all he had to do was put the contents of the vial into Sasuke's shampoo, and hightail it out of here. After he opened Sasuke's shampoo and poured the liquid inside the vial inside the shampoo bottle, he quickly left, not noticing Narumi, who was hiding near the bathroom with a camera. A few minutes later, Sasuke entered his house grumbling. Stupid dirt got everywhere. Ugh, I'm going to have to wash my hair several times to get it all out. Hee, good. You do that, Sasuke-chan. You do that. Narumi thought to herself as she watched Sasuke enter the shower. Several minutes later, Sasuke came out of the shower in some clean clothes. Now that was refreshing. Sasuke hummed to himself. He was startled when Narumi suddenly popped out of the laundry hamper and snapped a picture. Aha! Gotcha! She yelled before she ran away. Sasuke stood there shocked, before he got over the randomness of the event, and shrugged. What the heck was that all about? He asked himself as he entered his room. He took his hair dryer, and went to his mirror to style his hair, when he was shocked by what he saw. Sakura? He stuttered to himself when he saw a pink-haired person staring back him in shock. He raised his trembling hands to his hair, and saw the person in the mirror copying his movements. He yanked out a hair, and brought it towards his eyes with trepidation. No, 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 please don't be pink, please don't be pink, he whispered to himself with closed eyes, as he brought the hair closer for observation. When he opened his eyes, he was greeted by the sight of pink hair. Narumi chuckled to herself as she heard a scream emanating from Sasuke's house. No! Narumi, I'll kill you when I get my hands on you! Better make sure he doesn't catch me! She told herself as she ran home as fast as she could. She ran past a green-clad duo who looked similar to each other, causing their bowl-cut hair to wave in the wind she caused when she ran by them. A few seconds later, a pink-haired boy ran by them with a kunai in his hand. Whoa! That's some speed! The younger one commented to the older one. Such a youthful exercise! How inspiring! We should join them in their training and run as well. 10 laps around the village at top speed. Go! The older one yelled with a smile that shone with a blinding gleam. Yosh! Training it is, Guy-sensei! Let's go! The duo set off into the sunset, running at top speed. Chapter 42. The Chunin exams begin. In Konoha, a few days before the start of the Chunin exams. Hey! It's your turn to seek! Moegi complained when Konohamaru tried to weasel his way out of seeking again in their game of ninja hide and go seek. Hey! I need the practice. I almost ruined Narumi Nei-chan's mission when I almost got caught. Just one more time. Besides, it'll help you in becoming a better tracker too. Konohamaru pleaded his case, hoping he could convince his friends. How about you? Don't you need to practice tracking as well? And don't we need to practice our stealth too? Moegi countered. Konohamaru was not expecting Moegi to use his argument against himself, and was left stuttering, trying to say something back, but not being able to come up with any good reasons. He was about to just try to whine his way through, when he was distracted by bright pink hair in the distance that stood out from the rest of the population of Konoha. Whoa! Check that out! Her hair is even more colorful than yours! Konohamaru told Moegi as he pointed at a young genin in the distance. Huh! Moegi turned around to see who Konohamaru was pointing at. Oh, that's just Sakura-san. I don't really know her that well, but she was nice enough when I bumped into her once. That's Sakura? Konohamaru asked in shock. Hey! That's that annoying girl who bullied our boss in the academy! He growled as he punched his palm with his other hand. He suddenly began to storm off towards her. Where are you going, Konohamaru? Udan asked, worried his hot-headed friend would do something stupid. I'm gonna teach her a lesson! He shouted back as he continued to stomp towards the pink-haired Kunoichi. But what are you gonna do, Konohamaru-kun? Moegi asked, sharing Udan's concern. I'll figure that out once I get to her. Konohamaru shouted back. Should we try to stop him? Udan asked Moegi as they watched their friend walk off. Moegi rolled her eyes. Nah. I don't want to get involved in this. Let's go play catch or something. He'll come back when he's done. Sakura was going through her shopping list of supplies that Kurenai had suggested she stock up on for the exams, when she was suddenly interrupted by someone rudely shouting at her. Hey you! Pinky! She looked around to see who it was that was shouting at her. Huh? Are you talking to me? Yeah. I'm talking to you. Are you Sakura? Konohamaru demanded aggressively. Sakura was thrown off by having a child she had never seen before randomly walking up to her and demanding to know who she was so rudely, but he was a kid, so she decided to try to be nice in her response. Yeah. I'm Sakura. What's your name? She asked with a smile, trying to placate the kid who seemed to be mad at her for no good reason. Konohamaru ignored her question. So, you're the annoying girl who bullied our boss. Sakura was confused. Your boss? She wondered out loud. Who's your boss? Narumi Nei-chan. You have some nerve making fun of an awesome person like her. Who do you think you are? Konohamaru yelled at her. Sakura's cheeks reddened as she remembered how she used to join in, and sometimes even lead, other children in making fun of Narumi to validate her insecure self. She was embarrassed of her behavior in the academy and was hoping to forget that and leave it behind her. However, now some random kid was now bringing it back up and berating her for it. Sakura mumbled as she tried to think of what to say next. She wasn't proud of what she had done, But she didn't really need to apologize to some random kid either. It wasn't his business. She would apologize if she came across her, like she did with Ino a few weeks ago. She wanted him to leave her alone but didn't want to be excessively mean or rude in doing so. She wanted to be different now and be nicer when she could. Well? What do you have to say for yourself? Konohamaru shouted as he crossed his arms in an attempt to look intimidating. Sakura didn't even notice. Hey, so... Sakura began before she realized she didn't know his name. Anyway, it's true I wasn't the kindest to Narumi, and it's something I'm not proud of. I'll work it out with her when I see her some other time, but it's really something that's between us. Thanks for reminding me to try to mend things with her though. Sakura replied with a smile, hoping the kid would leave her alone. As if. You're probably just lying because you want me to leave you alone. You're just scared of confrontation. Coward! He accused. Sakura felt her patience being tested. I'm a genin, you know. What makes you think I'd be scared of a kid like you? She asked, the veins on her forehead beginning to bulge a little, as she spoke through her teeth in a barely maintained smile. Konohamaru was offended, feeling like Sakura was dismissing him as being just a little kid and seeing him as being unable to do anything. What? You think I can't do anything just because I'm a kid and you're a genin? Konohamaru huffed out. Well, kinda. Sakura replied with a shrug. Listen, it was nice meeting you, but I got stuff to do. I'll see you later. Sakura told Konohamaru as she turned around to get back to shopping. Konohamaru was angry at being brushed off like he was someone insignificant. Hey! Get back here! I wasn't finished! When Sakura ignored him and walked away, he was furious. Hey! You! Get back here! Hey! Get back here, you big forehead girl! He didn't quite know what effect those words would have on Sakura and had randomly said anything that he noticed about her, but he was about to find out the consequences. Sakura froze in place before her head whipped around to glare at Konohamaru. What? Did you call me? She growled out. I said you had a big forehead. What you gonna do about it? He asked, feeling sure that she wouldn't unleash violence on a little kid. Why, you little brat! I'll teach you a lesson! She screamed out as she ran towards him. Konohamaru gulped. Clearly that wasn't the smartest move from him. He turned around and ran for his life. I'm gonna clobber you when I get my hands on you! Sakura shouted out as she chased Konohamaru. You're crazy if you think that'll convince me to stop running! Konohamaru shouted back as he looked behind him to see if she was gaining on him. He was so preoccupied with Sakura that he didn't see the person in front of him and crashed into him. Oof! Ow! Hey! Konohamaru whined as he rubbed his cheek, which was red from the impact. Are your eyes just there for decoration? Stupid kid! The teen Konohamaru ran into shouted out at Konohamaru as he grabbed him by the scruff of his collar. Sakura ran around the corner of the alley to see the scene between Konohamaru and some boy who seemed to be a shinobi. She walked towards them to try to de-escalate the situation and apologize on Konohamaru's behalf, when she noticed the strangely dressed shinobi had a hetaide inscribed with the insignia of Suna. Hey, sorry about that. We were playing, and he got carried away. He must have not seen you standing there. We'll try to be more careful. She spoke apologetically in an effort to calm down the angry teen. Let the kid go, Kankuro. Don't make a scene. A blonde girl with her hair tied in 4 pigtails, who also had a Suna hetaide, told the Suna teen. You can be more careful next time. The boy known as Kankuro responded, relieving both Konohamaru and Sakura, until he added on to that as he gave her a sadistic smile. But he'll have to pay the consequences for this time. He raised his hand to strike Konohamaru, and was mid-swing, when his hand was pinned to the wooden fence next to him by a stick of half-eaten dango. Arg! Kankuro shouted out in pain, and dropped Konohamaru, who quickly scurried off and hid behind Sakura. Konohamaru, Sakura, Kankuro, and the blonde Suna girl turned around to see who had thrown the stick of dango. If I see you being mean to one of my minions again, I'll really get angry! Narumi shouted through gritted teeth. Narumi ne-chan! Konohamaru shouted out in relief before he ran over to find refuge behind her. You bitch! I was just gonna slap him around, but I'll make you pay for that! Kankuro shouted out as he pulled the dango stick, which was stuck surprisingly deep into the fence, out of his hand. Kankuro! Stop! You're making this a bigger deal! the blonde Suna girl warned, but Kankuro was too pissed to care. Shut up, Temari! I'm not about to let some stupid bitch talk to me like that. Hey! Language! Narumi shouted back as she got into a taijutsu stance. She didn't like potty mouths, even if they were going to fight. There was a kid around here, for goodness sake. Kankuro reached for the large object that was wrapped up in bandages and hanging on his back, when sand began to blow towards Kankuro. Where's all this sand coming from? Narumi wondered before she saw a short, auburn-haired boy emerging from the coalescing sand next to Kankuro, which seemed to make him pale. Kankuro, the boy said with authority. You're being an embarrassment to Suna. Stop, or I'll kill you. The way he said those last words sent shivers up Narumi's spine. He said it so nonchalantly, as if it were nothing to him, but he said it in a manner that made it clear it was more than just a figure of speech. Chigara! Kankuro choked out in fear. Why you got it? Sakura, who had been seeing this whole scene, saw the Suna hide hanging on his neck, and decided to ask him a question that had been on her mind. You guys are from Suna, right? Are you here for the Chunin exams? The red-haired boy ignored her question, and kept his eyes fixed on Narumi. Temari decided to speak up and answer Sakura's question. That's right. Will you guys be participating as well? Yup, Narumi replied enthusiastically, as if there wasn't a guy who had tried to fight her earlier, and a guy who was staring at her creepily in front of her. Can't wait to kick some butt and show who's boss. That was news to Sakura. She didn't know Team 7 was going to participate as well. I'll be in the exams as well, she told Temari. Temari looked the two girls up and down. While they didn't seem to be too much younger than her, they didn't look like much. They didn't seem like they had experienced the true horrors of a ninja's life yet. She could smell the rookie on them. I see, Gaara commented. In that case, I'm excited to be able to see you again during the exams. There's something about you that's different. Something interesting, he told Narumi as he gave her an unhinged smile that creeped Sakura out. What is your name? He asked her. Narumi? She replied. Gaara, right? Gaara ignored her question. I'll see you later, Narumi, he said as he turned around to leave, saying her name to himself as if he was trying to remember it for later. Temari gave her a concerned look. Listen, if I were you, I'd drop out of the exams. You don't want to have Gaara take an interest in you, Temari warned Narumi. Eh? Why? He's not that ugly. Sure, he's a little creepy, but if he thinks I'm pretty, maybe he's not as weird as I thought. Narumi responded naively, misinterpreting what Gaara meant by taking an interest in her. Temari just stared at Narumi dumbfounded in silence, wondering if she was joking or if she was actually that dumb. She decided to leave Narumi to her fate if she was actually that stupid, and walked away, joining Kankuro and Gaara. Well, that was a weird encounter. Wonder what it was about me. My hair? Narumi commented to herself as she turned around to leave with Konohamaru. Hey! Narumi! Can I talk to you for a second? Sakura asked as soon as she got over the creepy encounter with the sand trio. Narumi turned around with a frown. What do you want, Sakura? Want to make fun of my round cheeks again? Sakura winced. This was the effect she had on Narumi, something she hadn't really put much thought into before. She really needed to mend things with Narumi. No. Listen, I just wanted to apologize for how I treated you back in the academy. It was really mean and stupid of me. I regret how I acted back then and wish I could take it back. I know I can't, but I still wanted to let you know I'm really sorry. Narumi looked at Sakura with one eyebrow raised, and stared at her as if she had grown a second head. Eh? Are you sure you're Sakura? There's no way you're actually apologizing to me, right? Is this some sort of prank? Narumi asked as she looked around for any signs of a prank. Hey! I'm serious! This isn't a prank or anything like that. I'm genuinely sorry. I've been bullied before too and should have known better. I should have understood how bad it feels to be made fun of, but I wanted to be part of the cool crowd for once, and I thought people wouldn't make fun of me if I put the negative attention on you instead. I've realized how stupid that was, and I know I can't change the past, but I want to still apologize. I want to make things right between us, Sakura told Narumi. Narumi stared at Sakura skeptically for a couple seconds, trying to see if she was being genuine. Sakura stood there awkwardly as Narumi looked over her. It was weird just standing there, without any response, neither positive nor negative. Each second felt like an awkward purgatory until Narumi stuck out her open hand when she couldn't sense any deceit or negative emotions coming from Sakura. Sakura looked at the hand and looked up at Narumi. "You sound like you're being genuine, and you tried to help out my minion here, so I'll believe you this time, and forgive you for being mean to me in the past." Sakura broke out into a wide smile and shook her hand. "This doesn't mean we're best friends or anything like that, though," Narumi clarified. "It just means I won't hold your past actions against you. I still have to see what you are like now." Sakura nodded. "Of course. I just didn't want there to be bad blood between us. We may not be on the same team, but we are comrades after all." Narumi nodded. "All right. Well, I guess I'll catch you later then, Sakura. Come on, Konohamaru-chan, we're going now." Sakura nodded and waved goodbye. She got back to shopping with a smile on her face. It felt good to clear up the bad blood. At Ichiraku's. "Sheesh, what's the big idea, calling us to meet here, and then coming late?" Sasuke complained to Hinata. "I am sure she'll be here any time now." Hinata told Sasuke to calm him down. "Sorry I'm late, guys," Narumi shouted out as she ran towards the ramen stand. "About time! We were here for like 20 minutes. Sasuke complained. "You're the one who told us to come here in the first place." I know. My bad. I was held up by some random Suna guys who were trying to bully Konohamaru," Narumi said in her defense. "Suna?" Sasuke asked with a raised eyebrow. "Are they here for the Chunin exams?" Narumi nodded. "Yup. They were kinda weird, but I guess they're alright. One of them even said I was interesting. I think he might like me." Sasuke choked on the water he was drinking. "You're kidding, right? Some random Suna genin likes you after meeting you for 3 seconds? You! Does he know what kind of Mount Dash, what kind of what, Sasuke-chan?" Narumi asked with eyes open threateningly wide, and chopsticks held up like a pair of saban. Sasuke decided it would be best to make the most of the opportunity that Narumi gave him to save his skin. "I was saying what kind of mountain would best accentuate your hair in a picture. It's important to know these kinds of things if you ever take pictures together, you know." I haven't thought of that," Narumi wondered, going off on the diversionary tangent Sasuke brought up to save himself. Sasuke sighed in relief, knowing he had gained another day to live. Giggled with a hand over her mouth, as she watched the 3 genins banter. "You kids want your usual, right?" The genin nodded in confirmation before they went back to their conversation. So, what were the Suna genin like? Did they look as strong? Hinata asked, trying to see what their competition would be like. They didn't look all that scary. Just a little weird. But you know what was even weirder than the Suna genin? You won't believe this. Narumi told her friends. "What happened, Narumi-chan?" Hinata asked. "Guess who I met on the way here?" Narumi asked the other 2 genin. "Who was it?" "Stop hyping the story up and hurry up and tell us what happened," Sasuke said impatiently. All right. Sheesh. You don't know how to appreciate good storytelling," Narumi responded. "Anyway, Sakura was also there when we met the Suna genin, and when I was about to leave, she stopped me to apologize to me for how she was in the academy." "She what?" Sasuke asked in disbelief. "Are you sure it was Sakura? Maybe it was someone else in a henge." "That's what I thought at first too, but it seemed like she was being genuine," Narumi replied. "Don't tell me you actually forgave her just like that?" Sasuke asked. "Hey, she said she was sorry. It seemed like she changed after her academy days. I wanted to give her a second chance," Narumi told Sasuke. "Don't you want to get revenge? Get her back for making your life miserable in the academy?" Sasuke asked. "I think she did the alright thing, Sasuke-kun," Hinata commented. "You guys are too nice. I'd have used the Chunin exams as an excuse to kick her butt," Sasuke told his 2 teammates. "Oh, if I see her in the exams, I'm kicking her butt. But not because I want revenge. I'm gonna kick everyone's butt in the exams," Narumi declared with a fist clenched in determination. "That's some declaration, leaf brats. Let's see you guys back that up when the time comes," a white-haired teen with a mist tie commented as he stepped into the ramen stand. His teammates followed in behind him. "Excuse me, is this Ichiraku's ramen?" A kunoichi familiar to the genin of Team 7 asked politely as she stepped in. "Haku-chan!" Narumi squealed out in glee, before she jumped out of her seat to squeeze Haku with a hug. "I can't believe you're here. I'm so glad to see you, Narumi told Haku as she jumped up and down with excitement, while still holding Haku in her embrace. It's good to see you as well, Narumi-chan. Same with you, Hinata-san, Sasuke-san, Haku said with a smile. Hinata replied with a smile, as she gave her a polite bow. I'm glad to see you as well, Haku-san. Sasuke just gave her a two-finger salute like he had seen Kakashi do, trying to look cool. Narumi? So, this is Naruto Taisha's sister? Suigetsu asked Haku. Haku nodded. This is Naruto Taisha's genin team. Naruto Taishu? Sasuke asked with a raised eyebrow. How do you guys know Naruto-sensei? He was the leader of their squad during the Mist Civil War. A shy-looking teen with black-framed glasses replied. The genin of Team 7 hadn't really heard the full details of Naruto's long-term secret mission, but they had heard it had something to do with the hidden mist, so they put the pieces together in their mind. Leader of their squad? Then who are you? Sasuke asked the shy teen. One of our teammates was promoted to Jonin, so Chojuro-kun joined us for the exams. Haku replied in Chojuro's stead. Cool. It's nice to meet you. I'm Narumi, Narumi said cheerfully, as she stuck out her hand for a handshake. Chojuro looked at the hand in front of him, then looked up at the girl who was offering it. His face blushed when he saw her face. She was cute with those round cheeks of hers, and her flaming red hair that reminded him of May gave her an exotic beauty. Hi. Chojuro shook her hand, unable to look her in the eye. Narumi just gave him a smile as she shook his hand, not noticing his nervousness. She then turned to greet Suigetsu. Any sister of Naruto Taisha is cool with me, Suigetsu said, revealing his shark-like teeth with a smile, as he shook hands with her as well. The two teams got acquainted with each other, and Narumi helped the Kiri genin choose their ramen with her expertise in the field. So, who's your Jonin sensei, and where is he? Sasuke asked. Zabuza-sama is our Jonin sensei. He's at the Hokage Tower, filling out some forms at the moment, Haku replied. How did you find us? Hinata asked Haku. Zabuza-sama told us to explore the village while he was busy. Naruto Taishu talked about Ichiraku's ramen all the time, so we decided to try it out while we were here. We weren't expecting to find you here, but I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Tuchi smiled as he brought out the Kiri genin's ramen. He made a mental note to thank Naruto with some ramen on the house for his free marketing. So, you guys are gonna be in the exams too? Awesome! Narumi said in between her slurps of her third portion of ramen. You do know this means we'll have to fight each other, right? Sasuke asked Narumi. He had seen Haku in action back in Wave and acknowledged her as a worthy opponent to test himself against. He was excited to test his mettle against her during the exams. Oh, you're right. Narumi deflated slightly when she realized that. We could try to avoid each other or even help each other in the first few stages, Haku offered. We're only really required to fight in the tournament stage of the exams. That's a good idea, Haku-san, Hinata replied. She was happy to take all the help she could get and reduce the number of potential threats. Sweet! Sounds like a plan then, Narumi said with a smile on her face. Why don't we show you around the village after we finish eating? There are so many places you gotta see, Narumi said excitedly. Haku smiled. She had missed the vibrant energy of her friend from Konoha. That sounds good, Narumi-chan. A few days later, at the Hokage's office, the night before the exams. So, what was so important that you called me here at this time? You know the exams are tomorrow, right? I was supposed to buy my team dinner tonight, Naruto complained as he entered the office. Hiruzen turned around from the window to face him, with a more serious face than Naruto was expecting to see from him. Usually, he would just chuckle when Naruto complained. I've met with the elders and clan heads of Konoha today, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen began. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Aren't I a clan head too? I don't recall being called to that meeting. Naturally. As the meeting concerned you, Hiruzen replied. Oh? Naruto said as his mind worked quickly to try to put the pieces together in his mind. I'm guessing you called me here to inform me of what was said in the meeting? Hiruzen nodded. Correct. He sat at his desk and pulled out his pipe. I hope you don't mind if I smoke? As if you need my permission, Hokage-sama, Naruto replied as he gestured with his hand for him to continue. Hiruzen lit his pipe with a minor fire jutsu and took a deep puff as he prepared to break the news to Naruto. He wasn't sure how Naruto was going to take the news and needed to brace himself. So, you must be aware that I am old. I'm not even as strong as I was as when you first joined the shinobi forces, let alone compared to my prime. Hiruzen started. Naruto nodded. Heh. I'd say old describes you just about right. That's nothing new. Hiruzen chuckled. Of course. Father Time is undefeated after all. The old leaves must fall for the new leaves to take their place. Naruto started to feel a bit nervous, as the Sandame's words and flow of the conversation seemed to be heading in a direction that Naruto didn't like. He really hoped this wasn't heading there. Where are you going with this, Hokage-sama? Naruto asked. Hiruzen sighed. I'm not getting any younger, and I can't be the Hokage forever. If I had things my way, I'd have stayed retired after handing over the hat to your father, but tragically, that didn't go as planned. It's almost been 20 years since then, and I really need to choose my next successor. Naruto stayed silent. Shit. This was going exactly where he didn't want it to go. I'll just come out and say it. After much discussion with the village elders and the clan heads, it has been decided that you are the best candidate for the position of Hokage. Hiruzen told Naruto. Naruto began to shake his head. No. No. I'm not interested in becoming Hokage. The Sandame sighed. Listen, Naruto-kun shouldn't I have been asked if I even wanted the position? I've never even been interested in the position. I've got other responsibilities that are far more important to me. No. Find someone else. Naruto shouted out, interrupting the Hokage. Obviously, we can't force you to take the hat. But you should reconsider. Hiruzen advised. And why should I? Naruto asked indignantly. Well, one thing to consider is for the sake of the village. There aren't any other candidates in this village that are as capable as you, and there sure aren't any other candidates whose names command the amount of fear and respect yours carries, which is important in making other villages think twice before acting against Konoha. Naruto scoffed. Of course there are other candidates. Shikaku is much more capable than I am in running a village. Or if name value matters so much, then Tsunade is an option. Hell, if combat prowess is important, then choose Kakashi. While Shikaku is very much a capable and crucial asset in running a village, he won't be able to protect the village from the bigger threats himself, and doesn't really instill faith in the villagers that he'd be able to. He's better suited as an advisor. Tsunade is powerful and comes from noble lineage, but do you really think she is fit to be the leader of this village? While Kakashi is strong and intelligent, he is nowhere near as powerful as you are, and he can't even come to meetings on time. He is definitely off the table. Hiruzen countered. Well, then you can look at some of the others as options. Either way, I can't be tied up with Hokage duties if I want to take care of my sister and my team. Naruto replied. And that's the next reason you should reconsider. I'm not sure how much you know, but I've been keeping forces in Konoha that wish to use your sister the way other villages use their Jinchurikis or just flat out don't like her at bay. Who's to say the next Hokage will hold the same stance? Hiruzen told Naruto. Naruto clenched his fists and narrowed his eyes at the thought of people trying to use his sister like that. You might not be able to spend as much time with her, but you'd be able to help her a lot more as Hokage. Think about the mistakes the village made dealing with you and your sister after the Kyuubi incident. I must admit a lot of it was due to my shortcomings as a leader, something I deeply regret and wished I could have handled better. However, as a Hokage you would be able to do things differently. Do things much better than I was able to. You could do so much more for her. Hiruzen told Naruto, trying to convince him. Naruto closed his eyes and turned his head up to face the ceiling, internally debating on what decisions to make. Besides, who else would I choose? Jiraiya? Danzo? The third asked. At those names, Naruto's shoulders slumped, and he let out a defeated sigh. Now those were some awful alternatives. Sigh, fine, so now what? I'm Hokage starting tomorrow or something? Hiruzen chuckled. You don't need to worry about things changing so quickly. As we are fortunately in a time of peace, we can slowly transition. I'll start grooming you to succeed me after the Chunin exams. Besides, if your genin are as good as you tell me they are, they'll join the Chunin forces and may even lead their own teams. You won't need to watch over them like a mother hen anymore. Though Naruto was extremely displeased with the thought of becoming Hokage, he still gave him a small smile at the thought of his team. Oh, you'll see just how good they are soon enough. At the Namikaze Uzumaki household, the next morning. Oh, and then we took Haku and her friends to the hot springs after getting dango. Girl time with Haku-chan and Hinata-chan was so relaxing. Just what we needed before the exams. Though I'm not sure if Sasuke had such a good time with Sujetsu-kun and Chojuro-kun. Narumi recounted her previous evening to Naruto as she checked over her supplies one last time to see if she had everything she needed for the exams. Naruto smiled as he listened to her tale. Soon spending time with her like this would become a rarity, with all of the extra duties that would be imposed on him. He needed to cherish each moment while he could. Go get your brush and sit on the floor in front of me. I'll brush your hair today. Naruto told Narumi. I'm not a baby anymore, and Ai-chan, I can do my own hair. Narumi replied as she looked at him strangely. Naruto chuckled. Of course. But I want to brush your hair today. For good luck on your exams. Narumi shrugged her shoulders and brought the brush as he asked and sat in front of him. Naruto started to slowly brush her hair with long, methodic strokes. Narumi hummed as she relaxed at her brother's brushing. It's been a while since you brushed my hair like this. I forgot how nice it feels when you do it. You should brush my hair more often, and Ai-chan, Narumi told her brother. Naruto chuckled again. I thought you said you weren't a baby anymore? Well, what can I say? It feels nice. It's different from when I brush my hair, Narumi replied. Naruto smiled as he finished up. I'll think about it. Maybe I can brush your hair every once in a while, when we have time in the mornings. But we'll worry about that later. We'll need to leave soon if you want to meet with Sasuke and Hinata in time. Don't want to be late to the exams now, do we? Narumi jumped up and grabbed her stuff. Right. Let's get going then. Chunin exams, here I come. In front of the academy, Naruto and Narumi arrived at the swings in front of the academy first. The place Team 7 agreed to meet up at before they went inside for the exams. After a few minutes of waiting, Hinata, then Sasuke arrived. Good, looks like we're all here. Naruto commented when he saw Sasuke arriving. You ready to kick some butt, Sasuke-chan? Narumi asked with a confident smile. Sasuke replied with a smirk. I've been itching for the moment I can show off the things I've been working on. Naruto chuckled. I'm glad you guys are feeling confident, but let's not get too arrogant in our abilities. At that, Narumi and Sasuke's cheeks reddened a little in embarrassment, and they nodded. Now, once you go through those doors, you three will be on your own. I won't be there to tell you what to do or help you if anything goes wrong. Hinata frowned a little when she heard that. She wanted to be as confident as her two friends, but she couldn't help but be worried they'd come across obstacles that were too tough for them to overcome. She'd definitely miss having her sensei as a steady rock she could always rely on. Naruto noticed Hinata's concerned look and continued speaking. But let's get some things into perspective. The others in there are in the same boat. Unlike in missions, we know for sure that you'll only be dealing with genin. You don't need to worry about facing chunin or jonin level threats. We've trained pretty extensively on your individual skills, and I'm pretty confident that you guys are more than capable of handling the average genin. Have faith in the work you've put in. The three genins perked up and smiled at his words. You three are all incredibly talented. But what really sets our team apart is the teamwork and the faith you have in each other. When things get tough, I want you guys to rely on each other. I'm confident that you'll be able to overcome anything this exam has to throw at you when you work together. Got it. Thanks, Naruto-sensei. Sasuke replied with a smile. Naruto smiled back. Good. Now a few last words of advice before I make you guys late. I know you guys are thrilled to compete and show off what you can do, but show some restraint. What did I say was one of the most important tools of a shinobi? Teamwork? Narumi replied. A calm and analytical mind? Sasuke suggested. The element of surprise? Hinata quietly asked. You're all right, but Hinata was closest to what I was trying to say. Secrecy. Don't give away your position. Don't show your weaknesses. Don't reveal all of your cards until absolutely necessary. Use deceit and misinformation to put the playing field to your advantage. Put up a false front to create a false sense of security, then strike your opponents in ways they don't expect. Naruto advised. Naruto smiled as he looked at his team trying to process the information. Cute little things. Anyway, that's enough from me. Good luck on your exams, you three. Believe in yourselves. Oh, and I'd hurry up and head inside if you don't want to be late. Naruto told the three as he vanished in a swirl of leaves. The three broke out of their deep thought and rushed inside. Inside the academy, Let's see now, it says here that we need to head to room 302. Narumi mumbled out loud as she looked at the instructions that came with their application forms. It's only been a few months since we've graduated, but it feels like we haven't been here in ages. Sasuke commented as they climbed up the stairs. Here we are, room 302. Narumi announced to her team, pointing at a room with a sign that had 302 written on it. There were 2 tough-looking genin guarding the door, preventing many of the genin gathered outside the doors from entering. Sheesh! I didn't know there would be so many people competing, Narumi commented as she headed towards the crowd. She was suddenly roughly yanked back by her collar by Sasuke. Ack! Hey! What was that for? Narumi complained as she glared at Sasuke. Where do you think you're going, idiot? To our exam room? Duh! Narumi replied as she pointed to room 302. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Hinata, is that room 302? Veins began to bulge around Hinata's eyes. No. There's a Jinchuriki cast over room 202 to make it look like room 302. Oh. Well, sorry I don't have cool eyes like you guys, Narumi told her teammates as she pointed at her violet eyes. I didn't even use my Sharingan, dum-dum. Just used my brain. How many floors did we go up? Sasuke asked. 1? But what does that dash? Narumi stopped herself when she realized what he meant. Oh, right. We're on the 2nd floor, so that's room 202, gotcha, use your brain like me, alright? Sasuke said with a teasing grin to a glaring Narumi, as he led his team up the next flight of stairs which were hidden under another genjutsu, quietly leaving the mass of genin in front of room 202. Hey! Where are they going? A voice asked out loud, turning the attention to Team 7. Team 7 turned around with an annoyed look to see which idiot couldn't keep his mouth closed. Most of the crowd luckily lost interest when they didn't see anything, and went back to trying to get the genin guarding the fake 302 to let them in. I told you to be quiet and follow my lead, you idiot! Sakura hissed at Kiba as she punched him in the shoulder. You almost gave away the fact that room 302 here was fake. TCH, idiot! Sasuke commented before he headed up with his team. Hey! I'm not an idiot! Kiba shouted back towards Sasuke's back, who ignored him and headed up. Tisk, arrogant bastard! Hasn't changed in the least. You almost alerted everyone to the secret. Way to go. A slightly older-looking Hyuga boy told Team 8 before he turned around to go up the hidden stairs. You should keep Dog Boy there in a muzzle if he can't learn to keep his mouth shut. His female teammate slapped his shoulder. Niji-kun! That was uncalled for. TCH, whatever. You know I'm right, Tenten. His big mouth and small brain are destined to get them into trouble someday, Niji told his teammate as they went up the stairs. Grr. I hate all of these arrogant bastards. I'll show them. Kiba growled as he followed his teammates up the stairs as well. When Team 7 reached and entered the real room 302, they were greeted by Team 10. Narumi-chan! Hinata-chan! Sasuke-kun! Ino called out as she ran over to them, followed by Chuji, who was nervously munching on a bag of chips, and Shikamaru, who walked over towards them with his hands in his pocket, and the laziest gait they had ever seen. Ino-chan! Narumi shouted back as she hugged Ino. Good to see you guys too, Shikamaru-kun, Chuji-kun! Team 7 and Team 10 greeted each other, glad to see a fellow rookie team in a sea of older, more experienced genin teams. Ino was especially very glad to see Team 7, and her Sasuke-kun in particular. When Team 8 came in next, Sakura was greeted by the sight of her rival and love-glomping Sasuke, who didn't seem to be really enjoying the hug, but didn't look outright annoyed either. Trying to take the advice of her sensei, she tried to not be so obsessed with Sasuke, but it wasn't like you could just turn your feelings on and off, and it was tough to not feel jealous. You! I'ma kick your ass, you arrogant bastard! Fight me here! Kiba growled out when he saw Sasuke. I'll show you how much stronger I got under Kurenai-sensei. Sasuke just rolled his eyes and ignored him. You really don't know when to keep your mouth shut, do you? Niji asked rhetorically, as he passed by Kiba. I'll kick your ass next, Hyuga bastard! Kiba shouted, much to chagrin of Sakura, who was already annoyed from Ino acting too chummy with Sasuke, and Shino as well, though nobody could tell from his appearance. I see you wish to fight the Uchiha as well, Niji's teammate in a tight green bodysuit said to Kiba. Huh? And who are you? Kiba asked. I'm Lee. Rock Lee. the boy said as he gave him a thumbs up and a blinding smile. I'm also interested in seeing how I match up against the rookie of the year of your class. Well then get in line. I've got a bone to pick with him first. Then I'll go teach Mr. Arrogant Hyuga over there a lesson next, Kiba told Lee. Tenten shook her head as she came by and stood next to Lee. I don't think so. He was the rookie of the year for our class, and he's known as a prodigy even amongst the Hyuga. I doubt you'd be able to land a finger on Lee-kun here, let alone Niji. Hey! Don't underestimate me, Kiba shouted. You guys sure know how to draw attention to yourselves. An older Konoha genin with glasses told the rookie teams as he approached them. You should take a look around the room. Kiba and the other genin in Team 7, 8, 9, and 10 looked around the room and saw a bunch of older genin glaring at them. That got the rookies in Team 9 to quiet down a little. And who are you? Kiba asked, already annoyed by his earlier encounters. The older genin pushed up his glasses. I'm Kabuto. It's clear you guys have no idea what you guys are getting into. This is my 7th time taking the Chunin exams, so I've got quite the experience. Maybe I could help you rookies with some information or intel. We're comrades after all, aren't we? Sheesh. 7 times? Just how bad are you? Sasuke asked. Kabuto shrugged his shoulders. The exams are a lot tougher than you might expect. I wasn't ready to risk my life unnecessarily when there's always a next time. Coming from a clan of mind readers and information gatherers, Ino's interest was piqued at the prospect of information. What kind of intel are we talking about? Kabuto smirked as he pulled out a deck of cards. I have information of the competitors here. Things like their mission records or skills. Ino whistled at that. That could prove to be quite useful. Do you have anything on Gaara from Suna? Sakura asked. Picked quite a character as your first choice, huh? Kabuto mentioned as he shuffled through his cards until he found the right one. He's from another village, so there's not too much info on him. All I got are his mission records. He whistled when he read through the mission records. It says here that he took 8 C-rank missions as a rookie, and get this, even a B-rank mission. That's pretty crazy. Even more impressive is that it says he came back from each mission without even a scratch. The rookie genin started to become nervous. What kind of beast was he? They'd barely taken 3 C-rank missions. A B-rank? And not even a scratch? What kind of monsters were competing in this exam? They were beginning to feel like they were in over their heads here. Well, that was everyone but Team 7. Sasuke scoffed when he heard the mission record. That's it. That doesn't sound like much. Kiba was extremely annoyed at his arrogance. TCH, shut up, Sasuke. It's not like any of us have anything like that under our belts. Sasuke just shrugged. Speak for yourself, Inuzuka. Kiba wanted to punch him in the throat and wipe that arrogant look off of his face. We'll see how great you are, he muttered under his breath. Hey Kabuto, do you have anything on Uchiha Sasuke? Got it right, here. Kabuto told Kiba with a smile that soon fell off when he read the records. The genin of Team 8, 9, and 10 wondered what made Kabuto look so shocked. What is it, Kabuto-san? Sakura asked. T2A ranks? Kabuto stuttered out. What? Let me see that. There's no way that's true. They don't even let genin take B ranks. Kiba yelled as he snatched the card out of Kabuto's hands. The other 11 genin gathered around him to see what was written on the cards. 2A ranks, 6 C ranks, and 5 D ranks? Kiba gasped out. The other genin stared at the card in disbelief while Team 7, mostly Sasuke and Narumi, crossed their arms smugly. Wow. I mean, I knew you guys were strong, but this is seriously impressive, Sasuke-kun. Ino commented. Impressive is sort of an understatement. Shikamaru added in as he looked over Sasuke's card. Genin aren't even allowed to take B-rank missions, let alone A ranks. This is kind of unheard of. Niji studied Sasuke's card with interest. He's extremely well-rounded. Highly proficient in taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu, and he's activated his Sharingan as well. It'll be interesting to see how he stacks up against me and my Byakugan. The genin were studying his card intently when the card suddenly went up in flames when a small ball of fire hit it. That's enough now. You'll have to wait if you want to see my skills in action, Sasuke told everyone. Kiba smirked. Scared we'll use this information against you? Sasuke scowled. Kabuto-san? How do you have all of this information anyway? Hinata asked. Oh, you know. I have my ways, Kabuto said vaguely with a smile. At Hinata's question, Sasuke and Shikamaru became suspicious of Kabuto. How would a genin come across this kind of information in the first place? They decided to keep an eye on him. Do you have any information on those guys? What village are they even from? A musical note? Ino asked, pointing at 3 genin who wore hatites with a musical note inscribed on them. Oh, them? They're from a new village called the Hidden Sound Village. I don't really have anything on them. They're an insignificant little village after all, Kabuto replied with a smirk. Sakura was about to ask for more information about the Hidden Sound Village, when 3 figures blurred into their vision. Kabuto saw several kunai flying at him, so he jumped to the side to dodge them, right where a teen with bandages covering his whole face except for one exposed eye, swung at his head. Kabuto leaned back just enough to let the fist fly by his face, dodging the attack. He smirked, having seen through all of their attacks and dodging them, but then his glasses suddenly shattered. Overcome with nausea suddenly, Kabuto hurled the contents of his stomach onto the floor. What? What happened? Didn't he dodge everything? Sasuke wondered out loud in shock, having tracked all of their movements the whole time, and not seeing a single registered hit. The sound genin stood hunched over Kabuto. How's that from an insignificant little village? The bandaged boy sneered. Looks like the leaf isn't any better. That was a cheap shot, Kiba yelled out as he put his fists up. You sound jerks better watch what you say about Konoha, or we'll teach you a lesson. The spiky-haired sound genin smirked as he raised his hands. Why don't you come teach us this lesson then? Narumi and Lee stood by Kiba to help him defend their village's honor, and tensions rose as they were about to fight. Alright, that's enough, you worthless scum! A booming voice yelled out with authority as the door slammed open, capturing the attention of every genin present. Who the hell are you? The spiky-haired sound genin asked. The owner of the voice stepped into the room, revealing an imposing man with a scarred face clad in a black trench coat and a bandana on his head, and several Chunin standing behind him. I'm Marino Ibiki, the examiner of the first portion of the Chunin exams. Chapter 43, The Written Exam. In room 302, the stage for the first portion of the Chunin exams. I'm Marino Ibiki, the examiner of the first portion of the Chunin exams. The 3 belligerent sound genin immediately piped down when they realized who they were speaking to. Ibiki smirked when he saw the sound genin realize who he was. Looked like they knew who was in charge. Good. Now I suggest you sound genin stop doing as you please, or I'll disqualify all 3 of you before the exams even begin. Am I understood? The 3 sound genin nodded. Apologies. This is our first time taking the exams. We must have gotten carried away. I might as well use this opportunity to address everyone. Ibiki began, turning to the rest of the genin present. Fighting is prohibited unless specifically permitted by the examiner. He scanned the crowd, looking for anyone who dared to disagree with his rules. And as far as you are all concerned, I am the law here. Anyone who dares to disobey me will be disqualified immediately. Many of the genin gulped nervously at the intimidating aura exuding off of Ibiki. He could smell the fear on them, and it made him smile a sadistic smile. In the Jonin lounge. Sheesh, they got that sadist as the examiner? Kakashi commented as he walked into the lounge, where many of the Jonin sensei had gathered while they waited for their genin to finish the first part of the exams. Kakashi! My rival! Guy shouted out, alerting the other Jonin sensei when he saw his friend. What are you doing here? Kakashi shrugged as he pulled out the book he always kept on hand. I'm a part-time sensei for Team 7. Wanted to see how those rascals would do in the exams. Sadist? Kurenai asked in concern, bringing back the topic brought up by Kakashi, not being familiar with Ibiki or his reputation. Ah, right. I keep forgetting you've only become a Jonin recently, Asuma said as he smacked his forehead. You see, Ibiki is the commanding officer of the torture and interrogation force in Konoha, Asuma told Kurenai. Her ruby eyes widened when she heard that. Torture and interrogation? What the hell was Konoha doing putting such a man in charge of the Chunin exams? He's a consummate expert in the TNI department, Asuma explained. One of the best to ever take the position. He's no Yamanaka, but he can play with your mind like a toy. He's famous for specializing in breaking people down without even hurting them. At least physically. Kakashi added as he flipped a page. The sick bastard thoroughly enjoys the process of methodically breaking people down too. You know what they say, no one's better than a man who loves his work. His methods are most unyouthful, but I must admit his diligence and devotion to his work is commendable. Guy added. Kurenai couldn't help but feel concerned for her genin. She hoped Sakura wouldn't get psyched out, or Kiba wouldn't fall into some trap. Heh, sounds like my type of guy. Zabuza commented as he walked over to the small group accompanied by Naruto. Naruto shrugged. I doubt you'd like him so much if you met him in the TNI dungeons. The other Jonin put their guards up when they saw a foreign former A-ranked missing nin amongst them. Momochi Zabuza. Asuma called out, remembering Zabuza from his bingo book entry. What are you doing here? I saw him outside by himself, so I invited him in, Asuma-san. Naruto replied instead. He's a friend of mine. You have friends? Kakashi asked in what sounded like genuine shock. Zabuza started to crack up in laughter as Naruto glared at Kakashi. Kakashi-san! Kurenai shouted out in a scolding tone, which Kakashi shrugged off as he turned back to his book to avoid Naruto's glare. She gave Naruto and Zabuza a warm smile. Are you a Jonin sensei for one of the genin teams as well? She asked Zabuza. Zabuza nodded as he quickly eyed the beautiful woman up and down. Asuma noticed and was internally furious at his gawking, even though he didn't say anything. Please feel welcome to sit with us, Kurenai said in invitation to Zabuza and Naruto. Don't mind if I do, Zabuza replied as he sat down, though away from Kurenai as Asuma subtly cut off the route to the seat next to Kurenai. Can't wait to watch my genin tear through this exam. Too bad for your genin, but the winner of these exams will be from Kiri. You'll see they're a cut above your average Konoha genin, Zabuza said with a smirk. Naruto rolled his eyes before he turned his thoughts to his team. He was curious to see how his genin would handle Ibiki. Back in room 302. We will now begin the first test of the Chunin exams. Take a tab from one of the Chunin proctors, and you will sit according to the number on the tab. When everyone is seated in their proper seats, we'll hand out the test sheets. Ibiki informed the genin. A written exam? Narumi gasped out as she began to pale. That's right. If you have a problem, you can leave now, genin, Ibiki told Narumi. Sorry, Narumi replied as she deflated in her seat. Ibiki knew who this was. The famous, or infamous, Narumi. Known as the sister of Naruto, or the Kyuubi bitch by some. He'd see what she was like, and what she was made of before he decided what to think of her. He'd keep a close eye on her for now. Hinata and Sasuke traded looks as they had one of their mental conversations through their facial expressions and body language. A written exam? This is the worst possible thing for that idiot, Sasuke expressed to Hinata as he looked at Narumi, then at Hinata. I know. And we're all separated too, Hinata expressed back. She hoped Narumi would be able to get through this section all right. When all of the genin were finally seated, the tests were handed out, with the questions turned over so the blank sides were on top. Now before you turn the tests over, there are some rules to this test. I'll explain this only once, and I won't be taking any questions, so listen carefully. Ibiki told the genin. Here's the first rule. You will all start with 10 points. The test has a total of 10 questions, and each one is worth a point. If you get all of them correct, you keep your 10 points, but you will get a point subtracted for every question you get wrong. Narumi started to chew on her nails nervously. She hoped she could keep at least 5 points by the end. Here's the second rule. This test is a team test. This means whether you pass or fail the test is based on the combined score of your teammates. Sasuke's face paled when he heard that. It was hard to be confident for a written team exam when Narumi, who was notoriously bad at written tests, was on your team. Here's the third and most important rule. Anyone caught cheating will have 2 points deducted for each offense. The Chunin proctors will keep an eye out to catch any cheaters. There will be people who will be asked to leave during the test. I guarantee it. Any pathetic scum who gets caught cheating will be destroying themselves and their team. Crap, Narumi thought. Now she couldn't even think about cheating anymore. Here's the fourth and final rule. Anyone who loses all of their points will fail. Ibiki paused to look at the reactions of the nervous genin. He smirked at the fear on their faces. Along with their 2 teammates. The genin began to grumble and complain. Hey! That's not fair! Silence! Ibiki shouted out with authority, instantly silencing the room. You scum have no right to ask any questions or complain about my rules. If you don't like them, you can leave. The grumbling and complaints died down at his command. He looked around at the unhappy, nervous, and fearful expressions on the genin. He savored their misery. Narumi looked like she had the life sucked out of her. She was nervous for the test already, but now knowing that she could be responsible for their team failing, she was absolutely dismayed. Haku, sitting in one of the rows in the back, saw Narumi with her head down on the desk in despair when she heard the rule. She frowned at seeing her usually bright and cheery friend looking so down. All right. I hope you all paid attention to the rules because I won't be repeating them. You have 1 hour to take the test. You may start, now. Ibiki told the genin, officially beginning the first portion of the Chunin exams. Narumi flipped the paper over and picked up her pen. All right, let's see what we got here. Question 1. An enemy on a branch 20 meters directly above you is unaware of your presence. You throw a kunai at the enemy, and it reaches him in 8 seconds. Given that the kunai weighs 200 grams, how much momentum does the kunai carry? If the enemy is wearing a standard flak jacket, is it enough to penetrate deep enough to incapacitate the enemy? If not, how much faster do you have to throw the kunai to incapacitate the enemy? Assume you, the thrower, is 175 centimeters in height. Narumi looked like she saw a ghost. WW what? What is this? We never learned this in the academy. Or did we? Shoot! Where do I even start? This is like 3 different questions in one. Narumi fought the urge to tear all of her hair out and took a deep breath instead, like Naruto told her to when faced with a difficult problem. Alright Narumi, calm down girl. What did Nai-chan say? Oh yeah, if you can't solve one question, move on to the next one. Question 2. A boulder weighing 300 kilograms rests on a dirt surface, 10 meters from a ledge. You decide to push it without lifting it. A. How much force must be applied to get the boulder moving? B. After a bit of time, the boulder begins to roll. How fast is the boulder moving after rolling under the same force you calculated in part A? For half a second. C. When can you stop pushing before the momentum of the boulder carries it off of the ledge? Narumi's jaw dropped. I don't know. Just push it really hard. Don't stop pushing until it falls off. What kind of question is this? How does anyone know how hard they're pushing in the first place? When she looked at the rest of the questions, she found that following 7 questions were just as hard. More math? What is this next question? A cryptogram? What the heck? We never even covered this. Ugh. In gloom and absolute hopelessness, she reached the bottom of the last sheet on her test, without solving a single question. Question 10. The question will be revealed 45 minutes after the test begins. Listen to the examiner carefully before answering. What the? Is it like a listening section? Maybe I can solve that one. That way, I can at least have 1 point. Crap. 1 point? If I get that wrong, Hinata and Sasuke fail too. I can't let that happen. I need to answer at least one other question. But how? While Narumi was banging her head on the table trying to come up with solutions, the others came to the conclusion that this test was not meant to be solvable by genins. Some of the sharper genin also caught on to the fact that there were several Chunin plants amongst them in the exams that had all of the answers. This led them to the true purpose of the rules. You were meant to cheat. This was not a test on your knowledge, but a test on your information gathering skills instead. Narumi suddenly had an epiphany, something the others had already caught on to earlier. Maybe I could copy somebody's answers? Yeah, maybe a tiny little peek won't hurt. Right when Narumi gathered the courage to copy from the paper of the genin next to her, a kunai pierced his test sheet. You've been caught cheating 5 times. Get out. Take your 2 teammates with you. Ibiki sternly told the genin, in a tone that left no room for arguments. The genin sighed and walked out with slumped shoulders, accompanied by 2 other genin who looked just as miserable. Narumi watched several more genin be disqualified for cheating, some even carried out by force, and her intent to cheat slowly waned. Meanwhile, her teammates and friends were using creative ways to copy answers. Sasuke used his Sharingan to copy the hand movements of the Chunin plants to get the answers, while Hinata used her Byakugan to see their answers directly. In the sea of cheaters, with genin getting caught left and right by the Chunin proctors, only 2 genin took a different approach. Shikamaru and Sakura just solved the problems themselves. Haku had been seated next to Shikamaru, who completed the first 9 questions in less than 15 minutes and was taking a nap, and saw his unprotected test sheet. She pretended to drink some water but let some water spill intentionally, something that went unnoticed by the proctors. With some one-handed seals under the table, she used the spilt water to form a small, almost unnoticeable mist, which gathered at the ceiling, which she then used to make a small mirror of ice. She put her hands behind her head and leaned back, pretending to be deep in thought, while she looked at the answers on Shikamaru's test reflected on her ice mirror. She smiled as she jotted down the answers. A few minutes later, she had all of the questions answered, except for question 10. While she was waiting for the remaining time to pass until question 10, she looked around and saw Narumi, who was still banging her head on the table. It hurt Haku to see her friend so hopeless, so she decided to help her out. It was the least she could do for her friend and her former captain's sister. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Narumi was repeating to herself when her forehead suddenly hit something cold. What the? Why is there ice on my table all of a sudden? She wondered, as she looked at the thin layer of ice that formed on her table out of nowhere. As she was staring at the ice, an image began to materialize inside the ice. Huh! What's this? She wondered until she realized what it was. It was a copy of the test with all of the answers written on it. Wah, did my head banging open up a portal or something? Did Kami-sama hear my distress? She wondered until she saw a name written on the exam, Yuki Haku. Right. Haku-chan can control ice. I don't know how she did this, but this is awesome. She wanted to turn around and thank Haku right away with a hug, but she had a test to copy discreetly. She'd definitely thank her after the exams were over. Haku watched Narumi furiously jotting down answers on her paper and smiled. Looked like she found a good way to use her Makio Hyosho, demonic mirroring ice crystals, to help someone instead of hurting people. A few minutes later, Ibiki looked at his watch. 45 minutes had passed since the start of the written test. 45 minutes have elapsed. We will now be starting the 10th question. All of the genin laid down their pens to pay close attention to Ibiki. Before I ask anything else, you must decide whether you will take the question or not. What? Choose? What happens if we choose not to take it? Temari asked. Then you will lose all your points and fail immediately, Ibiki replied. What? Then why would anyone not take it? Narumi asked. And that brings us to the next rule. Ibiki began with a smirk. If you choose to take the 10th question and get it wrong, you will be banned from ever taking the Chunin exams again. The remaining genin were incredulous when they heard that. That was ridiculous. There's no way that's true. You have no right to ban us from taking it in another village. A different genin called out. You are correct, Ibiki replied, causing a ripple of murmurs to break through the genin. You will be free to take the exams in other villages. Just not any village Konoha is allied to. The Chunin exams are a joint project from Konoha and her allies, and the rules set by the examiners are upheld by all of them. That was basically the same thing as not being able to take the Chunin exams ever again, since they never sent teams to the Chunin exams held in IWA or Kumo. What kind of stupid rule is that? There are genin here who have taken the exams numerous times before, Kiba pointed out. Well, I guess you lot are just unlucky to have me as the examiner this year then. This year, it's my rules, Ibiki replied. That silenced everyone. But I'm still giving you a way out. Those of you who aren't confident can choose not to take the last question and try again next year. When Ibiki saw that everyone had heard and understood the gravity of his words, he began talking once more. Now, getting back to the 10th question. Do you wish to take it or not? Those of you who wish to not take the question, raise your hand. Once we confirm who you are, you may leave the room. Many of the genin began to internally debate on what to do. If they chose to take the question and failed, they'd practically become eternal genin, or just a run-of-the-mill shinobi who would probably peak as a chunin. However, if they quit, then both of their teammates would be forced to quit as well. In a position of not being able to communicate and discuss with your teammates, it was a tough choice to make, a choice that would affect your whole team. Nobody wanted to make the first move, and nobody wanted to be the sole genin quitting. Silence fell upon the room as genin nervously eyed each other to see how others would choose, hoping that someone else would take the pressure off of them. Ibiki smirked as he watched the pressure and mental strain he put on the genin begin to wear them down. He was curious to see who the first pathetic quitter would be. After a long and very uncomfortable silence filled with tension, someone raised their hand and broke the inactivity. I quit. The first genin to quit convinced others to quit as well in a demonstration of the bandwagon effect. It was tough to be the first to admit you didn't want to go through with something, but once people started to leave and make it seem normal, others didn't feel as guilty or weak for quitting. From the 51 teams that were present at the start of the exams, nearly 20 had either been caught cheating or quit on the 10th question, with more continuing to choose to give up. There were only 26 teams left when Ibiki decided to prod Narumi to test her mettle. So, how about you, Red? You think you got what it takes to answer the 10th question? I saw you banging your head on the table earlier. You think you got enough brain cells left to answer the 10th question correctly? Remember, if you fail to answer the question correctly, your whole team will fail. Sasuke and Haku glared at Ibiki for his dig at Narumi. Sasuke felt angry especially, as only he was allowed to make fun of that mountain gorilla for being stupid. Everyone's attention was now on Narumi's response. Would she quit now in an effort to protect her team from the fate of being banned from future Chunin exams? Narumi glared at Ibiki for a while for insulting her before responding. If you're trying to make me quit, then I'm gonna tell you right now to stop wasting your time. I'll never quit. It's true that I'm not good at written tests, but I won't back down. We entered the exams knowing we could potentially even die. I won't let some stupid test scare me. If we try our best and still fail and get banned from the Chunin exams, so be it, but I won't fail because I was too scared to even try. If I did, I wouldn't be fit to be a Chunin anyway. My team believes in me to try my best, and I won't let them down. After her words rang out throughout room 302, there was a moment of silence as her speech was processed by everyone. Hinata and Sasuke smiled at Narumi's response. Now there was their teammate who never gave up. Sure, she wasn't the brains of the team, no, definitely not, but she was certainly the heart and soul of their team. Her other friends also smiled at her response, and gained courage from her words, resolving to see the test through. Though the others didn't really care about Narumi, they too gained courage from her words. She did have a point after all. Ibiki looked over the room and saw the effect Narumi's words had on them. The look of doubt and uncertainty that had been present on their faces had been replaced by a look of determination and resolve. It looked like no other team would be dropping out now. What a shame. He had them dropping like flies earlier too. Ibiki chuckled briefly before he gave the remaining genin, but Narumi especially, a genuine, non-sadistic smile. I see. Well then in that case, to all of you remaining I say, congratulations. The genin looked on at him in confusion. Congratulations for what? Well done on passing the first stage of the Chunin exams. What? But what about the 10th question? Narumi asked. There was no 10th question. Rather, the choice to take the 10th question was the 10th question. So, you're saying the other questions were all a waste of time? An annoyed Temari asked. Ibiki shook his head. Hardly. The rest of the questions served to gauge your information-gathering skills. Say what now? Narumi wondered out loud. These questions were obviously beyond the level that any genin are expected to be able to answer. Ibiki explained. Narumi felt relieved, knowing that she wasn't an idiot for not knowing the answers to the questions. She wasn't meant to know. Duh. Obviously, Sakura tried her best not to look too pleased with herself for being able to answer the questions on her own, but was not having much success. Shikamaru snored, having failed to wake up for the 10th question in the first place. That's why we planted several Chunin who had all of the answers amongst you. You were meant to show your information-gathering skills by copying off of them. Basically, cheating was the premise of the test. Huh? There were Chunin here with us this whole time? Narumi asked herself quietly in confusion. She hadn't noticed, too busy with stressing over the exam. However, we couldn't let those with shoddy cheating skills pass. In the field, intel can sometimes be more valuable than lives, and will be guarded accordingly. If you get caught in the process of gathering intel, there will be consequences. Ibiki explained as he untied the bandana covering his head, revealing a head marred with scars from torture, drawing gasps from the genin in front of him. Then what about the 10th question? Kiba asked. The 10th question is the most important question. You were presented with a difficult choice to make. Risk being barred from entering the Chunin exams ever again to pass this round, or quit, hoping for better luck next time. In our careers, we will be presented with similar difficult choices. Say you're given a mission to collect information from a location that is guarded by an unknown number of forces in unknown ways. You could possibly die on this mission, but the information is crucial. Do you still choose to take it, or refuse to take the mission, and hope someone else will take the mission while you wait for an easier mission next time? Ibiki asked rhetorically as he explained. If you're not willing to do what the village needs and concerned for your own safety, you're not worthy of being a chunin. This is what the 10th question was meant to determine. Those who chose to take the 10th question answered the 10th question correctly. Unlike the pathetic scum who gave up, you all have the right mindset befitting of a chunin. Well done. You all passed the first stage of the chunin exams. Heh. I knew I'd at least get the 10th question right on my own. Narumi cheered as she did a little dance in her seat. Ibiki chuckled at her antics. Interesting girl. She didn't even realize the purpose of the test and failed to realize the existence of the chunin plants. She's even oblivious to the fact that she gave the others around her the courage to continue and ruined my intimidation tactic, giving herself more competition. And yet, she was the only one who really got the true meaning of the 10th question, even if she didn't know that she did. She definitely has the heart and mindset to be a chunin. We'll see soon if she has the skills to back that up. He was distracted from his thoughts when a brown blur broke through the windows. The blur threw 2 kunai into the ceiling, which held up a banner that revealed this message: the examiner of the second stage, the sexy and somewhat single Mitarashi Enko, keep your hands off of Kakashi-chan. Sasuke's face began to drain of all color when he realized who it was. Dango ne! Narumi squealed out in glee. Enko gave her a smirk and a wink. Hey there, Squirt. Didn't expect to see me here, did ya? She then turned to the rest of the genin. This is no time to be celebrating. I am the examiner for the second test. Mitarashi Enko. Now follow me. Ibiki emerged from behind her banner. Bad timing, Enko. Her cheeks reddened slightly at her mistimed entrance, but she wasn't about to admit that. Whatever. Any time I choose to enter is good timing, Ibiki. She then looked around the genin, and took a quick count, hoping to shift the topic quickly so she didn't look bad in front of the genin she was meant to intimidate. 78? You let 26 teams remain? You made the test too easy. You're losing your touch, Ibiki. Enko chastised. Ibiki shrugged. What can I say? There were a lot of outstanding teams this time. Bah. You're getting soft. I'll cut these numbers by at least half in the next stage, Enko replied. Sakura and Hinata started to get worried at her statement. More than half of them would be cut in the next stage? Just how many would make it to the final stage then? Enko looked around and saw the fear and confusion on the faces of the genin. Lovely. It was hard not to get excited. She had to fight the urge to lick her lips. All right now. I'll explain the rules for the next stage when we get to the location. Follow me. In front of the location of the second stage of the exams, Training Ground 44, the genin subconsciously huddled in their teams when they saw the ominous and imposing stage of the second portion of the Chunin exams. A tall wire fence with signs stating, "Danger, do not enter," hanging in intervals, stretched out for kilometers upon kilometers, surrounding a huge forest that was made up of massive trees that were unmatched in size by trees from anywhere else in the world. Their twisting branches and dense canopy created a dark and creepy atmosphere inside the forest which appeared to hold an untold number of dangers. Some of the genin could swear that they saw the glint of eyes staring at them from the darkness of the forest. Narumi turned her head when she heard the whimpering of a dog. What was that, Akamaru? Huh? You sensed something really dangerous? What do you mean? Where? Kiba asked his whimpering dog. Narumi turned her gaze back to the forest and gulped. Sure, she was confident in her abilities, but she had to admit, at least to herself, that she hated dark, creepy places. Welcome to my favorite place to unwind in this village! Training Ground 44! Or as some like to call it, the Forest of Death, Enko announced with a huge smile. A slightly unhinged smile, but a smile nonetheless. A Forest of Death? Sakura asked. Enko gave her a smirk. Hee hee, don't worry, you'll find out why they call it that in just a moment. Sasuke scoffed. The place fits her to a-T. A creepy crazy forest for a creepy crazy woman. He whispered to Narumi, who snickered. Sasuke had to jerk his face back when a kunai went flying by his face. Even though he had been able to dodge the kunai, it still grazed his face and left a tiny scratch on his cheek, which was enough to draw a bit of blood. You crazy bitch! That could have killed Dash. Sasuke was surprised to see her gone from where she was standing, and even more surprised when he felt something round and squishy brush over his cut. This is the most delicious glaze for my dango. Anko stated as she ate her dango dipped in Sasuke's blood. All of the genin present were flabbergasted at her insane actions, but Sasuke was visibly shaken. His lips were trembling, and his hands were cold and clammy. It was clear this woman was insane. And nobody wanted to mess with insane. Only Chuji, who was scared stiff as well, was curious about the most important question of all that everyone seemed to miss. Where had the dango even appeared from? He didn't dare ask though. Sheesh, these Konoha shinobi are fucking insane. Suigetsu muttered to himself. Don't start your own conversations when this creepy crazy woman is speaking, alright? Anko warned the crowd as she asked Sasuke, and everybody nodded in absolute fear. Good. Now let me get back to explaining, Anko stated before she turned her attention to the rest of the genin. Now before we start the second test, there's something I need to hand out. Narumi's eyes widened and sweat began pouring down her face when she saw Anko pull out a stack of papers. No. Not another written test. What? Written test? Anko asked in confusion. No, these, my sweet dear child, are agreement forms, she explained. You see, there will be deaths in this stage of the exam. It'll probably be the stage with the highest mortality rates. If I don't have you sign these and if you little cuties croak in this round, it'll all be my responsibility, Anko explained with a bright and innocent smile which contrasted heavily with the content of her words. She handed the papers to Team 7. Be a dear and hand these out, will ya? As Team 7 handed out the papers, Anko continued to speak. Now before you guys sign these forms, let me explain what the second test will be. After you hear my explanation, you can head to that booth behind me and check yourselves in, Anko stated as she began her explanation. Simply put, you all will be taking part in the ultimate survival test. Let's start this by describing the stage. Training Ground 44 is, as you can see, a massive forest, teeming with wonderfully dangerous wildlife. It covers a circular area with a radius of 10 kilometers, with a tower at the center, and a river bisecting the forest. During your survival in this forest, you will be tasked with one simple task. Use your many weapons and jutsu to compete in a no-holds-barred scroll battle. Anko showed the genin 2 scrolls. One black, the other white. As you can see, one of them has the kanji for earth written on it, and the other has the kanji for heaven written on it. You will be fighting for these scrolls. Seeing as there are 26 teams here, 13 will get the heaven scroll, while the other 13 teams will get the earth scroll. To complete this test, you must collect both scrolls, and make it to the tower at the center of the forest. I see, so she wasn't kidding when she said only half would make it through, Niji commented quietly. But there's a time limit. You will have 120 hours, or 5 days, to make it through. You will not be able to leave once the time begins, Anko announced. 5 days? Chuji sputtered out. But what about our food? Anko shrugged. Find your own. The forest is teeming with wildlife. Just avoid the giant, man-eating beasts, and the poisonous plants and animals. Chuji's face fell at that. It would be a very long 5 days. Let me warn you though, I don't expect 13 teams to pass. As the days go on and you get closer to the tower, the number of enemies you'll face will increase, while time to rest will decrease. So not only will 13 teams definitely fail by having their scrolls taken from them, but some will also die from the harshness of the course, Anko warned. Now, let me explain the grounds of disqualification. Outside the academy, Ibiki was walking out after grading the papers when he noticed Naruto leaning on the wall beside the door with his arms crossed, waiting for him. Ah, Naruto-san. It's been a while, Ibiki said in greeting. To what do I owe the pleasure? Hello, Ibiki-san, Naruto replied. I was just wondering how my genin performed. Ibiki smirked. He had guessed this was what Naruto wanted to talk to him about the moment he saw him. Heh. Quite the interesting bunch you got there. Naruto just raised his eyebrows, non-verbally asking Ibiki to explain. Ibiki looked through the papers he held as he spoke. So, you've got Itachi's little brother, the Hyuga heiress, and your sister on your team. Quite the team. Right. Sasuke, Hinata, and Narumi. Naruto replied, subtly emphasizing his preference of using their names instead of who they were related to. Yes, them. Anyway, it seems Sasuke is indeed a prodigy, like his brother and father before him. I mean, a genin with the Sharingan? Impressive. And it seems he has quite the mastery over it as well, seeing that he's able to copy what people are writing, simply by observing the movement of their hands. He's indeed gifted, but don't chalk up his skills to him simply being a prodigy. He's put in the work to earn it. Naruto told Ibiki. Ibiki nodded approvingly in response. Good to see that there are still those from the younger generations that understand the value of hard work. I'm looking forward to see more from him. Naruto nodded in agreement. Now Hinata. She's sharp and observant, and clearly has a good head on her shoulders. However, I haven't seen anything that makes her stand out. Her Kekkei Genkai gives her an advantage in the information gathering, so I wasn't able to gather much about her potential, or what she's really capable of. I see. She'll show you what she's made of in the later stages of the exam. She's got a lot more talent and skill than what meets the eye at first glance. Naruto replied. I hope so. Ibiki replied. But the most interesting one of the bunch? That position goes to your sister, Narumi. She's not really the brightest. She spent most of her time banging her head on the table, instead of gathering information like the others. In fact, she seemed to not catch many of the underlying purposes of the test, or the things going on around her. Naruto was not happy to hear that. However, she seems to have some intangible traits about her that seems to work in her favor. I observed she has friends who care deeply about her, something I noticed when Sasuke and Ayuki Kunoichi gave me death glares for questioning her intelligence. She seems to also be able to inspire a sense of loyalty and a desire to help her from others, which was especially evident when a foreign Kunoichi risked getting caught cheating to help her. It's quite an interesting trait, I'd say. Ibiki went on to explain. She was also the only one to catch the hidden meaning of my last question, though she didn't even know it. It was as if she instinctively knew that the hidden meaning of my last question was that you can't back down from missions or challenges just because they seem daunting. Or maybe she just has that quality in her naturally. Overall, I'd say she isn't the most intellectual, but she has a strong spirit and a sort of intuition. An interesting combination. I'm very interested to see how she'll perform in the rest of the exams. Ibiki told Naruto. Naruto smirked. That sounded like Narumi, alright. Why don't we have a wager on how my team performs? Ibiki returned the grin. What do you have in mind? Back at training ground 44. Alright, here are some rules and the ways you can get disqualified. Enko put up her closed hand as she began to explain. First, you will be disqualified if you don't make it to the tower with both scrolls within the time limit. She told the crowd as she straightened her thumb. Second, you'll be disqualified if you lose a teammate, or if a teammate is killed. Enko held up her thumb and index finger before she put her hand back in her pocket. Also, you must not look inside the scrolls until you make it to the tower. Enko explained. What happens if we do look? Narumi asked. Enko gave her a smirk that told her that it was a bad idea. If you're so curious, you can open your scroll and find a nice surprise waiting for you. She then turned to the rest of the Genin crowd. As Chunin, you will be expected to handle classified information. This is to see how reliable you are. If you can't be trusted to handle that, then you don't deserve to be Chunin. The Genin nodded in understanding. Good. Now that's all for the explanations. Hand in your forms to get your scroll, then choose a gate to start at, and head on over. Enko told the Genin, who began to head towards the registration booth. Enko looked at the backs of the Genin as they eagerly headed towards the booth to hand in their agreement forms. She frowned slightly at their naive eagerness. Despite her warnings, some of these Genin would not be leaving this forest alive. They just didn't know it yet. One last word of advice, Enko called out, causing many of the Genin, including Team 7, to turn around. Don't die. They turned back around, rolling their eyes at such an obvious and useless word of advice. Sure, it wasn't helpful, but it was really just Enko's wishes for them. Contrary to how she portrayed herself to the Genin, she wasn't a huge fan of young kids dying. She really hoped Team 7 in particular would be alright. She had grown quite attached to them. As Enko tried to hide a concerned look for Team 7, someone else was observing her, unbeknownst to her. Kukuku, so, little Enko is all grown up now, eh? The Kusa Kunoichi watching Enko turned her eyes to the backs of Team 7. So, you're concerned about their well-being, eh? Kukuku. Why don't we see what these kids are all about? Enko suddenly had a bad feeling crawling up her back and on the side of her neck. Shit! This old thing is acting up again, she mumbled to herself as she clutched the side of her neck. Enko felt someone observing her, so she turned around to look in the direction she felt the presence. No one. The dull pain quickly subsided as quick as it came. She was relieved the pain went away, but she couldn't help but feel unsettled. That mark hadn't acted up in years. Nothing good ever came with those pains. She hoped everything would be all right. Chapter 44: The Forest of Death. With Team 7 in the Forest of Death. "All right, team, what's the plan?" Narumi asked her two friends when the second stage of the Chunin exams officially started, the team not having moved too far from the gate that they had been assigned to. "Why don't we start by seeing which of the scrolls we got?" Sasuke replied. Narumi pulled out the scroll and handed it to Sasuke. So we got the Earth Scroll, huh?" Sasuke commented as he looked at the black scroll in Narumi's hand. "We need to decide who's gonna hold on to this," Sasuke brought up. Does that matter? What's so important about that anyway?" Narumi wondered. Sasuke sighed. Looked like he'd have to explain the obvious. "Think from the perspective of the ones seeking to take the scrolls from another team. We all know that each team of 3 has 1 scroll. So, there are a couple ways this can be handled. We can just defeat everyone on their team and look through all of their stuff until we find it. This is the most energy-consuming, but surest way. Another method is to identify who has it, isolate them in some way, and then either defeat them or convince them to hand it over. Another way is to convince the whole team somehow and get them to hand their scroll over. This is least energy-consuming way, but also difficult to achieve since most won't go down without a fight." Narumi nodded as she paid attention. "Right. And so, the middle ground between the extremes, and the most feasible one is the second method I mentioned. Ambushing the person holding the scroll and taking it. Even if we can't catch them alone or by surprise and end up engaging their whole team, we could isolate them in a fight to focus on them." Sasuke continued to explain. Narumi replied as if she knew where Sasuke was going with this, but the confused look she tried to hide on her face was evident to Sasuke's perceptive eyes. "And that means it's important to figure out who is actually holding the scroll, Narumi," Sasuke explained as his patience started to diminish. "Oh. Right. Of course," Narumi replied. "But that's something everyone knows. So, it becomes a psychological game, where teams will try to make it difficult to guess who actually has the scroll. Each team is comprised of people with different skills, talents, and capabilities. The basic and most obvious strategy is to give it to the strongest person because they're able to protect it best. But how about approaching the problem from the other direction? Give it to the weakest person because nobody will expect them to have it, in a bit of reverse psychology? Or maybe instead of deciding based on strength, you give it based on decision-making? Give it to the smartest one because they'll make the best decisions. Or go for reverse psychology again and give it to the dumbest person who'll just guard it with their life? Or, regardless of what category you decide on, give it to the middle person who might fly under the radar? There are so many factors to consider. Narumi's head was spinning from all of the factors Sasuke brought up. Sheesh. So many things to consider. "So, what's your idea then?" she asked the Uchiha Genin. "Not trying to brag or anything, but I think most people would assume I'm the strongest of our group, being the Rookie of the Year and an Uchiha." Narumi rolled her eyes. "Whatever. I'm saying that's what most people would think, numbskull. Not saying it's true," Sasuke told Narumi as he caught her eye roll. "But I'm not saying it's not true either," he said with a cheeky smirk to bother her more. All right, whatever. You know I'll kick your butt in a fight if we really fought. Just get to the point, Mr. Sakura wannabe." Sasuke growled at Narumi when he was reminded of when she dyed his hair pink. It took him days and what felt like hundreds of showers to get his hair back to black. It still had a dark pink hue to it when viewed from the right angle under the sunlight. "You really think you can beat me? All those challenges I beat you in sure tell another story, ramen brain." Narumi and Sasuke glared at each other, practically snarling at each other like two dogs who had a disagreement. Guys?" A quiet voice called out. "What?" The two arguing genins yelled back as they turned to look at the voice who disrupted their argument. Shouldn't we focus on the task at hand? We are in the middle of the Chunin exams after all." Hinata reminded them. You're right. I let this stupid mountain gorilla distract me." "Hey! I heard you clearly this time. You just called me a mountain gorilla," Narumi shouted out angrily. Sasuke pretended he didn't hear her. "So anyway, most people will probably think I'm the strongest of the bunch, and think I'm headstrong and insist on holding the scroll. That's why I don't think I should hold on to it. So, how about Narumi-chan? Hinata asked. Nah. She attracts way too much attention. I'm sure some people are out to get her just to shut her up. She's also headstrong and people probably expect either me or her to have the scroll. Sasuke replied. Hey. I heard that. I'm not that loud. Narumi shouted, unaware of the fact that she was proving Sasuke's point. Sasuke ignored her again. I think it's best if you hold on to the scroll, Hinata. You don't attract too much attention, and you're more level-headed than me and Narumi. Hinata looked over at Narumi to get her opinion. Narumi rolled her eyes but nodded her approval. She had to admit Sasuke had a good point. Good. Now that we've decided that, we now need to decide on who'll be the leader for this mission. Sasuke brought up. Oh. Pick me. Pick me. Narumi waved her hand in the air to get their attention. Yeah, absolutely not. Sasuke replied. Narumi pouted. Hey. Why not? I make good plans. Think about that time I dyed your hair. Don't. Just stop right there. Don't remind me or I might accidentally miss with my shuriken and have it accidentally land in your back. Sasuke hissed out in a threat. Besides, I think I should be leader instead anyway. Sasuke continued. Oh really? Of course, you'd say that? What makes you think you'd be better suited than me anyway? Narumi argued. Well, to start, I'm smarter than you. Remember everything I had to explain to you earlier? Sasuke reminded her. Narumi sucked in her lips as she became silent. She had to concede on that point. Besides, I already have some ideas on how to proceed with this mission. Unless you have better ideas other than just randomly walking around and finding random people to fight. Crap. How did that cocky bastard know that's exactly what her plan was? Alright then, Sasuke-chan. Let's hear what your great plan is then. Narumi asked as she crossed her arms. Thought you'd never ask. Sasuke said with a smirk. Now don't interrupt until I'm done talking, alright? Narumi rolled her eyes. So, we should use a column formation, with me at the front, Narumi at the center, and Hinata at the rear. I can use my Sharingan to analyze tracks or traces that may have been left behind and look for any signs of enemies who may be hiding. Hinata can use her Byakugan to look behind her even as she faces forward, so she's the perfect person to watch our backs. Narumi, you can be in the middle so you can either jump ahead or behind to quickly support either side if anything happens. Hinata and Narumi nodded at Sasuke's plan for the formation. It seemed solid enough. Sasuke continued. Narumi, you could also create a bunch of clones and have them form a perimeter around us at some distance, as a form of an early warning system. Wouldn't seeing my clones just alert the other teams that I'm nearby? Narumi asked. That's why you'll have them in a henge. Transform into random people and have them scatter all around us. If they see anything, they can dispel, giving you the general location of where the threat might be coming from. You can then tell Hinata the direction, and she can use her Byakugan to give us a more in-detailed description of what's going on. Narumi and Hinata nodded in agreement. Huh. That was clever. Why hadn't she thought of that before? Narumi wondered. I was thinking we could all assume a henge as well so we can stay under the radar. Sasuke proposed. But what if our friends see us but don't know it's us and attack us? Narumi asked. Perhaps that might be an excessive measure, Sasuke-kun. Even if they do know our identity, the other teams don't know what we are really capable of. We'll still have an element of surprise on our side. Hinata reasoned. I guess you're right. Besides, the strong ones would see through the henge anyway, and we don't really need to worry about the weak ones. Maybe we can actually use it to our advantage so they'll come to us thinking we're weak, and spare us the effort of looking for them. Sasuke admitted. Alrighty. Sounds good to me. That's everything, right? Can we actually start now? Or are there more things we need to figure out? Captain? Narumi said that last part sarcastically, as she asked impatiently, itching to get moving. Sasuke caught her sarcasm, but still smirked at being called captain. The idea of having Narumi as an underling was something he would relish. He shook his head. Nah, we're good to go. He turned towards the forest and began to head in deeper. Alright, Team 7. Let's get this party started. With Naruto after hearing the second stage of the exam began in the Forest of Death, Naruto was wandering down the streets of Konoha deep in thought. His sister was involved in a life-or-death exam for a fast-track promotion to Chunin, and there was a lot on his mind. Sure, He believed in her and his team, but he couldn't help but be worried. One mistake and he could lose her. He started thinking back on how he raised her from near infancy. He had bottle-fed her himself, cleaned her, changed her diapers, and put her to sleep as if he was both her mother and father since he was 8. She had practically been his child for his whole life. Now she was on track to be promoted to Chunin, and was getting ready to leave the nest, so to speak. Even if she didn't make Chunin, she'd still be handed over to a different sensei, most likely Kakashi, in about a month or so, as it had been decided that he would become Hokage after a short apprenticeship under Hiruzen, following the end of the Chunin exams. Naruto scowled at the thought. He hated that position ever since the moment his father had been forced to choose between the village and his family. His father chose to destroy his family for the sake of the village, but the village didn't reciprocate the goodwill back to him, or Narumi. And now he had to take the role of protector and leader of these backstabbing ingrates. He was expected to sacrifice everything for the sake of the village. He scoffed at the thought. Now, Naruto didn't outright hate the village, and he would sacrifice a lot to protect the village his father gave up his life, and the happiness of his family, to save. But he also definitely did not, and would not put the village above his family like the Yondaime had done. If they ever expected him to use Narumi like some caged animal to be loosed on their enemies, if they dared to deny of her dignity, as a human being, he would show them that demons were not just limited to the Bijou. Hey! What's with the sour face, Naruto-kun? Huh! Naruto was broken out of his brooding when a familiar face called out to him. It was Izumi. Sheesh. Are you trying to be like Fugaku-sama? You're gonna be competing with Sandaime-sama in wrinkles by the time you're 30 if you keep making faces like that. Izumi told Naruto as she joined him in walking. Naruto just rolled his eyes. Yeah? Whatever. What do you want? Izumi put a hand to her heart. Oh my. Can't a friend just come to hang out? She told Naruto as she feigned being hurt. Naruto realized he was being snappy from the scenarios he was making up in his head regarding the village and Narumi. He needed to calm down. There was no need to be rude to someone who was practically family. Fine. My bad. What can I do for ya? He asked Izumi in a tone he thought was more friendly, but what most others would think as cold or apathetic. It didn't really bother Izumi though. She knew what Naruto was like. He was just a cute, angry puppy who needed to be wrapped up in a blanket and be fed copious amounts of ice cream as they watched a heartwarming movie. She'd never say that to him though, being the prickly porcupine that he was. So, you have free time for the first time in like ages. How is it? What you got planned? She asked. Naruto scratched the back of his head as he thought about it. Huh. Now that he thought about it, he did have the next few days off while his team competed. It had been so long since he didn't have a mission or have something planned with his team, that it was a bit awkward. I don't know. Maybe train? Work on some seals? He answered back. Boo. That is like literally the lamest plan. That's all you ever do. You have 5 days off. Do something fun that's not related to work or training. Izumi responded. Fun? Naruto asked himself out loud. Maybe he could head down to Tianai to test out one of his new interrogation seals? But that sounded too much like work, and he was not quite Enko or Ibiki. Maybe he could try to see how much ramen he could eat? No, that was a waste of money. Sure, he was rich now, but money was meant to be spent wisely. Maybe he could spar with one of his clones. No, that was training too. Izumi watched Naruto's face in disbelief as he tried his best to come up with something fun but failed. Oh my gosh. Are you really struggling this hard to think of something fun? Well, fun. I guess we should start by defining what fun is, and what it could mean for different people. Maybe training is fun for me? Can fun even be measured? Naruto blabbered, trying to come up with some vague excuse and hide his embarrassment in not being able to come up with anything. Had he always been this boring of a person? Yeah, no. Don't try that with me, mister. Don't change the topic. Izumi snapped back. Drat. Damn Izumi and her perceptiveness to these kinds of things. When Naruto was left stuttering to reply, Izumi silenced him. Okay, it's clear that you don't know what fun means, so why don't you let me choose some things for you to do? I mean, you should go to the doctor when you're sick, and go to a smith if you need new kunai, right? Naruto raised an eyebrow. So, you're saying you're the equivalent of a doctor when it comes to fun? Izumi nodded. Uh-huh. People love me, Naruto-kun. And it's not just because of my looks, okay? Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah. Whatever. So, what's the plan for me then, Fun-sama? Hee, let's see. Izumi began to rub her palms together gleefully, which made Naruto nervous. Well, I think we should start with something easy. Why don't we try some socializing? We could have a dinner with some friends, she suggested. Friends? You want us to have dinner together? Naruto asked with one eyebrow raised. I was thinking more of a gathering of more friends. You do have more friends, right? She asked carefully. Naruto rubbed his chin as he began to think again. Izumi sighed. This would be the same thing as when he tried to think of something fun. She'd have to do everything here. Okay, friends don't have to mean like best friends. Open up your really narrow parameters. Anyone who you get along with. I guess I'm alright with Anko, Shizen-san, Yugao, and some of my ANBU guys? Yeah, ANBU have their hands full with village security right now, including Yugao-san, and Anko is busy with proctoring the second exam. Izumi explained. We could start with dinner with me and Shizen-san. Naruto nodded. Sure. That sounds fine. I do owe her for helping out with training Hinata anyway. Maybe this is my chance to pay her back a little bit by buying the three of us dinner. Oh, nice. If you're trying to thank her, you need to buy her a really nice meal. I'm feeling something fancy, so I'll look for a good spot. She told Naruto. He conceded to her points and nodded in agreement. Izumi couldn't help but smirk. Ever since he had handed over the reins on what he should do with his free time, she had immediately begun plotting. This was the perfect opportunity to set up Shizen and Naruto, and so far, everything was going perfectly. Naruto watched Izumi chuckle to herself creepily as she drummed the tips of her fingers together, looking like the stereotypical schemer. It didn't really inspire confidence within him. What are you laughing about? He asked nervously. Izumi almost jumped in shock when she realized what she was doing. Oh, nothing. I just thought of a joke that I heard at work. It's not really your type of humor, so I'll spare you the details. However, the details she was really sparing were related to the plans she had for their dinner. Naruto wasn't really convinced, but he let it slip. Izumi had always been a little strange by his standards. As they continued to walk together, Naruto subconsciously led Izumi near the site of the second stage of the exams as they wandered without any real destination. Izumi pointed in the distance when she saw some familiar faces. You see those two? I paired them up. Aren't they so cute together? She told Naruto as she pointed at Anko and Kakashi, who were talking just outside the building where they would monitor what was going on inside the forest, which was a little further away. Naruto just shrugged. I guess? I don't really know these kinds of things. He was cool with minding his own business and not get involved with whatever Anko and Kakashi were talking about, but he couldn't help but overhear a bit of their conversation. Yeah, you don't have to worry about Team 7. I doubt there's anything some mere genin can do to them. Didn't they already fight some jonin in Taki or something? Anko told Kakashi. Kakashi was aware of Naruto's presence, so his eyes widened in fear when Anko began referring to the mission in Taki. He wasn't sure how much Naruto had heard, but he needed to shut her up now. He pulled her aside to the darker side of the building and planted his lips on hers suddenly. Izumi didn't hear anything, but she saw the kissing going on as she passed by them. Whew! Now that's a job well done by me! Good job, Izumi! She congratulated herself as she pat herself on the back. Naruto turned away from them, uncomfortable with the public display of affection from his senpai, which was highly uncharacteristic by the way, and continued on. He didn't really care what Kakashi or Anko did in their spare time, but something Anko said stayed on his mind. What jonin? Was she referring to the little missing nin rabble that attacked Taki? But they had mostly been chunin. We should hang out with Shizen-san more often. She seems nice. Maybe it would be good for you to have her as a closer friend rather than just an acquaintance you get along with. Izumi told Naruto, distracting him from his thoughts. There was definitely something he didn't know about that mission to Taki, and it piqued his curiosity, but he decided to leave it for now. For now, he had to listen to whatever it was that Izumi was saying to him. Meanwhile, Anko wiped the saliva off of her lips with her thumb. Growling! I don't know where the hell that came from in the middle of our conversation, but frankly speaking, I don't give a shit. All I know is I want more. Enko purred seductively as she began to nibble on his earlobes. Kakashi sighed in relief of having dodged the bullet that was Naruto, but now he had another problem to deal with. If you don't follow me to the bathroom in the next 5 seconds, I'm dropping my pants right here, Enko told Kakashi. Kakashi's mask began to grow redder and wetter around the nose. Elsewhere, in the forest of death, a red-haired kunoichi suddenly stopped in her tracks while her two teammates continued to keep an eye out for somewhere to camp for the quickly approaching evening. Guys, we need to stop. Right now. There's something out there, she told her teammates. Of course there's something out there, you useless bitch. We're in the middle of a fucking forest. Now stop holding us back and help us look for some food or shelter instead of being useless as usual. One of her teammates replied rudely. No guys, I'm serious. This one's different. I sent several chakra signatures and dash chakra signatures? Where? How many? The other teammate asked, cutting her off. 3. She replied as she pointed at the direction. But what's more important is that dash, aha! Another team must be nearby. That saves us the effort of having to look for these other losers. Maybe we can get the Earth Scroll we need so we can head to the tower right away, one of the kunoichi's overly confident teammates said to the other. Guys, I don't think that's a good idea. They seem strong. Really strong. One of them has chakra that's unlike anything I've ever seen before, she said in an effort to deter them. PSHHH, whatever? You think everyone is strong because you're a pathetic kunoichi. If you couldn't sense, you'd be the most useless waste of oxygen, one of her teammates replied back. If you're going to be useless, at least be hot or something. Geez. I mean, do you see her hair? She looks like she just got out of bed. And those glasses? She should be in a library with the other nerds. Hurts our eyes to see her, one of the male shinobi said to the other. The red-haired kunoichi was flabbergasted. Were they seriously talking about her appearance? Here? Now? Are you guys fucking stupid? I'm trying to warn you of a danger, and you guys are talking about my looks? We're in the middle of the Chunin exams, in a fucking forest called the Forest of Death. And you're here judging me on my looks? We could seriously die. Yeah, whatever. Quit your nagging and shut up. If you're so scared, you can just stay here and look for something to eat while we take care of the little genin out there and come back with the scroll. Just know that when we get back to Kusa, we're going to tell our sensei how little you contributed to the team. One of her teammates replied back. The kunoichi really didn't care if her idiot teammates who constantly bullied her died, and she didn't really care about being promoted to Chunin, but she definitely did not want to be left in this creepy forest by herself. She had to stop them. Seriously guys, let's look for some other team. I promise I'll try my best to look for another one. Just please listen to me this one time. Don't go. And waste all that time? If we don't get the scroll now and head to the tower, we'll have to spend the night here. And I don't want to be in this damned forest for a minute longer than we have to. No thanks. Hey, maybe if we complete this challenge today, we could break some sort of record and get some sort of benefit for the next stage. One of the Kusa genin said to the other as they ignored their kunoichi teammates' pleas and jumped towards the direction she sensed the chakra. The kunoichi huffed and puffed in anger as she stomped the ground. Tears welled up in her eyes in frustration. Why wouldn't these stupid knuckleheads ever take her seriously? Just because she wasn't a combat-oriented kunoichi, she really hated her life right now. Here she was, forced to enter the Chunin exams to represent a village who mistreated and used her and her mother, with her idiot teammates who bullied her, had all of her opinions and suggestions ignored, and now she was left alone to fend for herself. She knew for sure she wouldn't ever see those two again, but the sweetness of never having to deal with those assholes was dulled by the reality that she now had to fend for herself in this forest crawling with danger. And she sucked at fighting. Well, guess this is how I die then, she glumly told herself as she began to look for shelter like her teammates had told her to. A shelter she'd have to use by herself. With the red-haired kunoichi's teammates meanwhile, the two Kusa genin slowed down their approach and hid themselves in the canopy above when they saw the distant figures of 3 other genin. That must be them, one whispered to the other as he pointed to the 3 genin in the distance. Heh. They don't look like much. You see that little runt with the red hair? He looks like he's 11 years old or something. To think she was making a big deal about this. She's so annoying. Can't wait to ditch her when we become Chunin. Maybe we can get some babe on our team instead of her, one Kusa genin said to the other. Speaking of babes, do you see that blonde chick? Wow. I can look at those sexy legs all day, his friend replied. He, why don't we spare her and take care of the other two? Perhaps we can get something in return for sparing her life, the genin said with a lecherous look on his face. The two Kusa genin snuck up on the three seemingly oblivious genin and drew their shuriken. Let's make this quick. One strike to Catboy and Little Runt each, and then we pounce on the blonde. On 3. The two counted down to 3, and silently threw their shuriken, aimed at the base of their skulls from behind. They watched with bated breath as the shuriken got closer and closer to their targets. All seemed to be going according to plan. In a few fractions of a second, the two would drop dead, and they'd get their prize by surprise. They were in for a shock when a wall of sand rose up to catch their shuriken. What? Was that some sort of doton? One gasped out in shock. But no one used any hand seals? His friend stuttered out. The red-haired boy slowly turned his head around, revealing a bloodthirsty smile that seemed to be unnaturally wide. Neither of the Kusa genin noticed the sand slowly gathering around them, as they pulled out their kunai as they prepared to rush the three Suna genin. Idiots! Did they really think they could sneak up on us talking that loudly? Kankuro said to Temari as he shook his head. They're lucky Gara got them first before I could put these sexy legs up their ass, she replied with a scowl. She hated perverts to begin with, but perverts who had plans to have their way with her against her will. She was going to enjoy the show to come. The two Kusa genin nodded at each other and sprang at Gara and Kankuro. While your filthy blood isn't adequate, I suppose it'll have to do for now. Sabakikyu, sand-binding coffin! Gara called out as he stretched his hands out towards the two incoming Kusa nin. It would be too late for the Kusa genin when they realized they never stood a chance to begin with. In the Forest of Death, with Team 7. Inchwu. This pork and mushroom ramen is so good. I think eating it in the forest is actually making it taste better, Narumi told her friends before she took another slurp of the remaining broth. Who would expect people to be eating this kind of food in this forest? Sasuke commented to himself before he took another bite of his pickled tomato onigiri. Sasuke and Hinata didn't have ramen like Narumi, but they too were enjoying a delicious home-cooked meal that looked out of place in the vast forest they were in, while others were desperately scrounging to find anything to eat. The genin of Team 7 mentally thanked their sensei for saving them from the trouble of finding, killing, and cooking their own food in this forest like the others in the exams by giving them storage seals that would keep food as fresh as the moment they were first sealed. They had food supplies that would last them weeks with them at all times, and this stage of the Chunin exams was the perfect time to make use of them. Narumi had just finished up her meal and was patting her belly, humming with satisfaction, when the memories of one of her scouting clones came rushing back to her. A smile came to her face as she processed the memories. This was going to be fun. In another part of the forest, with another team from Konoha. I'm telling you, they went this way for sure. These broken twigs on the floor and bent blades of grass are a telltale sign, a genin from one of the older teams said to his teammates. The kunoichi of the team smirked. Amateurs. They didn't even make an effort to hide their tracks. Anyone worth their salt would have traveled on the treetops to leave less traces behind. It must either be one of the teams from the other villages, who are less familiar with traveling or tracking in the forest. Either that or a really inexperienced team. The leader of the team mused out loud as they continued to follow the trail. You think it might be one of those arrogant rookie brats? The first genin asked with disdain evident on his face. If so, they'd be easy pickings for an experienced team like us. I'd prefer coming across them rather than some of the other more experienced teams or some of the more savage teams from other villages, the leader replied. The kunoichi pounded her fist into the palm of her other hand. I hope it's that team with the Uchiha, Hyuga, and that loud, annoying red-haired girl. Their whole team is so arrogant and insufferable. I'd love to tear them a new one so we can teach their arrogant bastard of a sensei a lesson like Uriah-sensei told us to. They continued to follow their trail until their leader raised a fist to get their attention and to halt their movement. Quiet, he ordered. He then pointed towards the twisting roots of a tree that formed a small cave-like formation in the distance. Do you see the figures there? I think that's the team we were tracking. The first genin, who had the best eyesight out of the three, squinted his eyes to get a better look. Looks like we're in luck. You guys remember the red-haired brat? In the first stage of the exam? The first genin asked his teammates. The kunoichi chuckled. I won't quit. I'll never quit. She sneered as she repeated what Narumi said in a mocking tone. What a noob. You can tell she's never been in real trouble before. Well, I think I can see her red hair from here. He replied back. That's perfect. We're lucky we came across one of the rookie teams. It'll be an easy fight. The leader commented as he began to plan how to attack. Can't wait to teach them what a real, experienced shinobi is like. They were lucky, or maybe not so lucky, that their bastard sensei got them into these exams undeservedly and prematurely in the first place. The kunoichi told her team, let's wait and observe them for a little bit before we strike. Let's see if they show any signs of them knowing our position. They do have a hyuga with them after all. The leader told his team. The team began to observe Team 7, hidden in the trees above. I think we should start getting ready to spend the night here. I'll go get some firewood. You guys get some water and set up camp. Sasuke told Hinata and Narumi, before he went off on his own. Oh. I'll go get the water. I needed to pee anyway. I'll go off to pee somewhere first, then go to the river and bring back some water. Narumi declared as she jumped up and dashed off somewhere. I guess I'll set up the camp then. Hinata quietly whispered to nobody in particular. The older genin team observing them couldn't believe their luck. Not only did they come across one of the least experienced teams in this whole competition, but they were also still undetected by a team that had a hyuga, and the green rookies had foolishly split themselves up. They were basically handed to them on a silver platter. Wow! They must have 2 brain cells to share between the 3 of them collectively, because they just did the stupidest thing ever. The kunoichi commented. We couldn't ask for a better opening. They all split up, and left the weakest looking one behind too. The first genin couldn't believe what he was seeing. The leader smiled as he drew a kunai. This is perfect. We'll ambush the hyuga before the others get back. If she has the scroll, perfect. If not, we can still hold her hostage to force them to hand their scrolls over. If she has the scroll, let's go hunt for the other 2 after knocking her out, and defeat them one at a time. I'm itching to teach them a proper lesson, the kunoichi suggested. The leader nodded. Let's move out. Hinata was looking around to see where it would be best to set up their tents and stay hidden, when 3 shinobi suddenly appeared around her, and one of them put a kunai to her throat. Eep! Hinata squealed out in surprise as her hands were roughly yanked behind her back, and someone kicked the back of her knees to make her kneel. The leader of the older Konoha genin team leaned over with a smile on his face. A bare forehead, huh? You must be the heiress of the oh-so-mighty Hyuga clan. I've heard rumors of their weak, pathetic heiress. The disgrace of their clan. You're Hinata, aren't you? Hinata whimpered in fear as she nodded. Why yes, I'd enjoy beating you senseless to teach your arrogant sensei and clan a lesson, but I'll spare your pitiful ass if you hand over your scroll. Hinata hung her head. I can't. The leader took the kunai at her throat from his kunoichi teammate's hand and grabbed Hinata's throat as he pressed the tip of the kunai at her throat. You know, I always did hate you, arrogant Hyuga. Always looking down on a civilian-born shinobi, as if you're so much better than the rest of us filthy peasants. Maybe this could be my chance to get one on you bastards without any legal repercussions. Hinata trembled at his threat. I'm not in the mood to play games, Hyuga. Hand over the scroll, or I just might give you a new hole to breathe from. I can't give you the scroll, because I don't have it. Hinata sniveled out. The kunoichi patted her down to look for the scroll but couldn't find it on her. The older genin cursed. Now they'd have to wait for the others to come back so they can use her as a bargaining chip. No rookie hunting. At least individually. They wouldn't get to see their faces of despair as they were surrounded by older shinobi while they were isolated and alone. Guess we'll have to use her as a hostage then. Plan B it is, the leader said with a sigh. A couple minutes later, Narumi showed up with several full bottles of water. Got the water, guys. Miss me much? The smile on her face vanished when she saw Hinata looking at her with sad eyes as she was held hostage by some older genin. Hi, Hinata-chan. Give us your scroll, or we'll add a new fountain to this forest. A fountain of blood. But I don't have the scroll. Sasuke has our scroll. Please let her go. Narumi begged. How can we tell you're not lying? Maybe you're just trying to buy time until the Uchiha arrives. Prove you don't have it by letting us search you. Remember, try anything funny, and the Hyuga clan will have to find a new heir. The leader of the older genin told Narumi. Fine, you can search me. Just don't hurt Hinata-chan. Narumi replied as she surrendered herself. The older genin scoffed after they captured her as well. How stupid do you have to be to hand yourself over like that without a fight? After a quick search, they soon found that she didn't have the scroll either. Shit. I guess the Uchiha has it then. Of course. Give it to the strongest one. Such a rookie thing to do. The other older genin complained. They decided to wait for the Uchiha with their 2 hostages. Not too long after, Sasuke appeared with an armful of fallen branches for firewood. He immediately dropped the firewood and pulled out several shuriken when he saw his captured teammates. Make one more move, and we'll kill both of your teammates, the leader told Sasuke as he stood between Narumi and Hinata, who were being held by his other 2 teammates. A scowl formed on Sasuke's face. This was indeed a bad position to be in. It looked like a fight was out of the question. He would need to be diplomatic. Let me guess, you want our scroll? The leader nodded with a grin. Heh, looks like you don't beat around the bush to waste our time. Good. Hand us the scroll without a hassle, and we'll let you guys get off easy. Sasuke stood there in contemplation for a few seconds, before he reached into his bag to pull out a black scroll. The 3 older genin smiled as they saw the scroll. An earth scroll! Perfect! That's just what we needed, the older kunoichi said with a grin. Good. Now throw it over to us, the leader of the older team demanded. Sasuke looked at the scroll in his hand, deep in thought as he contemplated what to do. Stop wasting our time and hurry up, the older genin shouted at him impatiently. While the genin holding Hinata was distracted, she suddenly jerked away from him and turned to face him. He was caught off guard by her quick and sudden movements, and was unable to stop her index and middle fingers from striking his sternum. He flinched away in fear of the legendary Juken, but he soon found himself completely unharmed. It didn't even hurt. Hey, useless Hyuga can't even use the Juken properly. That did nothing, he said in a sneer when he realized nothing happened. Hinata surprised him by giving him a wide smile that was very uncharacteristic of her, before her hair began to grow long and turn red. That's because I'm not a Hyuga, you knucklehead. I'm an Uzumaki, the Hinata who turned into Narumi declared. Take them down. Now, the leader demanded. The situation was quickly getting out of hand. The kunoichi holding Narumi stabbed her between her collarbone but was surprised when she simply dispelled with a puff of smoke. It was the same for the other genin who stabbed the Hinata-turned-Narumi in the stomach. What the hell? They were clones? The genin asked in confusion. But they were solid. What's going on? The kunoichi also wondered. SH Shadow clones? The leader of their team stammered out. But how? That's an A-rank kinjutsu. How does some random genin know how to use it? Because we're not just some random genin unlike you, Sasuke said with a smirk. And by the way, Uzumaki like to use seals, he told them as he pointed at the sternum of the genin who had held the fake Hinata. Huh! He looked down and saw a tag on his sternum that began to hiss. The 3 older genin were surprised yet again when the tag exploded, covering them in a thick cloud of smoke that they couldn't see out of. When the smoke receded a few chaotic minutes later, they found themselves completely bound by Sasuke's ninja wire, and surrounded by Sasuke, Hinata, and Narumi. And that's another trap executed successfully by yours truly, Narumi sang in triumph as she twirled around in a dramatic gesture. Did you guys like my acting skills? You really thought you would catch us unaware? With these pathetic skills? Sasuke sneered. And you guys are how old? 18? 20? And this is the best you can do? Wow. You really wasted your time. Maybe you'd be better off doing something else. How about baking? The older, fiery kunoichi fought against her restraints in fury, but all that did was cause the ninja wire to cut into her. Damn you, you fucking arrogant prick! You're a dick just like your bastard sensei. Sasuke put a hand to his heart. Oh my. Thank you for the compliment. You really couldn't have said a nicer thing to me. Narumi drew her sword and put it on the leader's neck. How dare you talk to Hinata-chan like that? If you weren't from Konoha, I might have just cut you right now. Sasuke looked at her in confusion. Wait, we're not going to kill them? The 3 older genin looked at them in fear for the first time. It had taken them years before their first kill, and here were some rookie genin who weren't older than 12 talking about killing them so nonchalantly as if they had actually killed before. Narumi punched Sasuke in the shoulder. Sasuke! How could you even think that? Sure, they're big jerk faces, but they're still from Konoha. Sasuke shrugged. Hey, it's the Chunin exams. People die all the time. It's expected. I'm sure they'd rather die than to be humiliated by some 12-year-olds too. No. We don't mind. Please don't kill us. The older genin team begged pitifully, throwing away all traces of dignity. No means no. You might be the leader for this mission, but I'm not gonna let you kill Konoha Shinobi. That's final. Narumi said sternly. Sasuke knew how stubborn Narumi could be, and this was not a fight worth having. Sure, he didn't particularly mind killing if he had to, but he wasn't some sick psycho who would go so far as to fight his friends so he could kill some random genin from his own village. Fine. We won't kill them, Sasuke said in resignation. Hand over your scrolls and we'll let you go. The bound-up genin team nodded furiously as they told Sasuke where their scroll was. Heh, looks like we're in luck. These idiots had the Heaven Scroll. Now all we have to do is make it to the tower, and we're done with this stupid forest that crazy snake woman loves so much. Sasuke told his team after he took the scroll from the kunoichi's pouch. You're letting us go now, right? One of the bound genin asked. Sasuke nodded. All right. Let them go, Narumi. Narumi stepped up to the three but didn't make any motions to let them free. Well? What are you waiting for? You said you'd let us go. Now free us. I said we wouldn't kill you. I never said we wouldn't hurt you. Narumi said with a sadistic smirk that threw them, Sasuke, and Hinata off. What? But what happened to not hurting your fellow Konoha shinobi? They asked in fear. Narumi? Sasuke asked in surprise. You think we'd let them go unharmed after all the mean things they said about Hinata-chan? Not on my watch. Narumi explained. Hinata-chan. Come over here. Hinata walked over to Narumi, confused as to what was going on. Yes, Narumi-chan? Can you believe what these butt-faces said about you? They actually think you're weak. I think you should show them what you're really capable of. Narumi told Hinata. I don't know, we already took their scroll and everything. She replied, unsure of what to do. She turned to Sasuke to get his opinion. I'm with Narumi on this. I think it's important for you to do this. Not only do they need to learn not to mess with you, and to give you the proper respect you deserve, but you also need to do this for your own confidence. We'll have to fight people who are much tougher than this trash, and you need to warm up to the idea of hurting people. Sasuke replied. Hey! We're not trash! The older genin shouted out angrily. Sasuke didn't even spare him a glance as he threw a shuriken that hit him on his Konoha Hittite and bounced off. It quickly reminded them of the position they were in. Oh, okay. Maybe we are trash. Sorry. The bound genin quickly apologized. See, I bet you could beat all of them too. Do it, Hinata-chan. Teach them not to be such bullies. Show them your skills. Narumi told Hinata. Yeah, because it'll prove your skill to beat up some bound-up people. Wow. So impressive. The older kunoichi sneered. Untie us and then let's fight. You guys got lucky catching us off guard in the first place. Unless you're too scared to fight us fairly, that is. Hey. You guys are much older. And it's 3-on-1. That's not fair either. Narumi yelled back, before Hinata stopped her. No. They're right. It won't mean anything and won't prove anything unless I fight them fair and square, she said in a determined voice. She had entered to prove to her father, clan, and also herself, that she had come a long way from being an incompetent, scared, and meek little girl. She'd use this opportunity to prove herself. Sasuke gave her an approving grin and nod. Narumi, you heard her, untie them. Narumi shrugged before she quickly gave 3 quick slashes that were too fast for the tied-up genin to fully perceive, and the ninja wire around them fell off. You luckily got us in a trap, but now we'll really show you what we can do. You've made a huge mistake in underestimating us, brats. The older kunoichi shouted out as the 3 genin surrounded Hinata. After we're done with her, you're next. Hinata calmly took her stance and activated her Byakugan. She wasn't particularly prideful of her clan status, but she'd show them what a Hyuga could do. The leader started off the fight by throwing a flurry of shuriken at her, while the other 2 genin ran at her while she was distracted. Hinata stayed calm as she easily dodged the projectiles that flew at her with minimal movement, maintaining her stance to deal with the 2 genin who rushed at her. The male genin threw a huge haymaker at her head from the back while the older girl tried to sweep at Hinata's feet with a kick. Having 360 vision, Hinata saw everything, She calmly stepped over the kick at her feet as she leaned slightly to the left as she turned to dodge the haymaker. In one fluid motion, she used the movement of her dodging motion to set up for a quick juke and jab to the male genin's armpit that paralyzed his arm, and used his own momentum to send him tumbling past her. The older girl recovered from her kick and tried to punch Hinata's head, but Hinata quickly turned around to face her, and slapped away her arm with her left hand before closing the distance between them. The kunoichi tried to lean back to dodge Hinata's juke and jab, but Hinata used her focus on her upper body against her, and instead stepped one leg between her two legs, and kicked her left leg away, causing her to lose her balance and almost fall into a split. Hinata finished her off with a chakra-lace jab to her collarbone which took her out of the fight. The leader of the older trio came at her with a kunai and tried to slash her, but Hinata kept a narrow stance, and used her palms and forearms to deflect all of his strikes, while delivering strikes to his arms which were slowly shutting down. The older teen with one functioning arm screamed in fury as he threw a kunai with his other arm, but Hinata surprised everyone present when she seamlessly snatched the poorly thrown kunai out of the air and used it to stab the leader's hand holding the kunai. She used the pause from his shock to deliver a rapid strike to his neck, causing him to cough up blood as he collapsed. Most people would have tried to stop fighting or run away after seeing their teammates get thoroughly manhandled, but the last remaining genin came at her with an axe kick from behind. Hinata turned to grab the genin's ankle on the raised leg before it gathered its full momentum and delivered a savage low kick to the outer part of the knee of the leg he was standing on, causing it to bend slightly inwards with a sickening crunch. The teen screamed in pain as he fell to the floor, crying. The fight lasted less than a minute and ended with 3 crying older genin scattered on the ground around Hinata. Sasuke and Narumi were rather surprised at Hinata's savagery in her fighting, and when the fight ended and Hinata got out of her fighting mode, she too seemed shocked at herself. Wow! What was that? Looks like training with Dangone paid off, Narumi said as she clapped. I can't lie. I always knew you could fight, but I didn't know you had this in you, Sasuke told Hinata. Hinata turned to face her friends with a shocked look on her face. Oh no! I didn't think it would be like this. I just did what Enko-sensei taught me to do and it was like I was in some sort of trance. She hadn't intended to be so brutal with them. It was just that, after training with Enko and Naruto at her full capacity each day, she had gotten used to having opponents who could actually strike back. She wasn't used to fighting such weaklings. Did I do bad? Hinata asked her friends. Narumi put her arm around Hinata's shoulders. Of course not. Based on what they said they were going to do to you, and how they killed my clones when they didn't know they were clones, I'd say they got what was coming to them. Sasuke clapped as he stepped up to Hinata. Bravo! Now that was a masterclass of taijutsu. Keep it up for the other fights we'll have in these exams, and we'll be good. Great job. Hinata was still unsure, but she gave her friends a small smile. It faded slightly when she saw the groaning genin on the ground behind her. Now we got both scrolls. Let's leave this trash behind and get to the tower, Sasuke told the team. Right at that moment, a scream rang across the forest, causing Team 7 to instinctively turn to look in the direction the scream came from. It didn't seem too far away. Looks like another team got what was coming. Let's get out of here, Sasuke said. Wait, didn't that scream sound like help? Narumi asked as she tried to see if she could hear the scream again. Please help me. The scream rang out again. It might be a trap, or it might just be another team getting ambushed. Either way, it's not our business, and we got both scrolls. Let's go to the tower, Sasuke told Narumi. But for some strange reason, Narumi couldn't ignore it. She felt drawn to help. The extreme desperation, sadness, and loneliness emanating from that direction didn't help. Please! Somebody! Anybody! Help me! Okay, that's it, I'm heading over, Narumi decided as she ran off in that direction. Hey! Wait! Get back here! Sasuke called out, but Narumi was gone. Sasuke sighed. Why did that idiot have to make things so tough for them? Well, we can't let our teammate go alone now, can we? Sasuke told Hinata, who nodded. They ran off after Narumi, leaving the defeated older genin behind, with a lesson well taught. Naruto looked at his watch as he waited in front of the fancy restaurant Izumi picked out for their dinner tonight. It was 5 minutes from 6 o'clock, and there was no sign of Izumi there. He looked around and saw people entering the restaurant, all dressed up. He felt slightly underdressed in his simple black long sleeve and khakis, but this was about as formal as he was willing to dress for a dinner with some friends. Getting him to even dress up this much took a lot of convincing from Izumi. Something about not being allowed into the restaurant, or something along those lines. "You look different today, Naruto-san," a voice called out, causing Naruto to turn around to look behind him. Shizen walked up to him wearing her usual black kimono attire. "I think you look nice. It's a good change from your usual attire. Unfortunately, I didn't have too much time after work to change, so I just came in my regular clothes. I hope that's alright." Naruto shrugged. "You look fine. I'm sure it'll be okay." "Thanks. I hope so," Shizen replied. There was a bit of awkward silence after they nodded. "So, I wonder when Izumi is coming. It's almost 6 now. It's almost our turn to enter." Naruto wondered out loud. "I'm sure she'll be here soon, Naruto-san," Shizen replied. Once again, there was an awkward silence after they nodded. Naruto looked at his watch impatiently, waiting desperately for Izumi to come and help break up this awkward tension. Speaking of awkward, why were things so awkward? He had talked to Shizen before, hadn't he? What did they usually talk about? He recalled that they usually talked about training or about Team 7. Did he not have anything else? He had known this woman for years, and he never felt this awkward around her before. It looks like it's our turn to go in, Naruto-san," Shizen brought to Naruto's attention when the host called for their party. "Ah. Alright. I'm sure Izumi will join us soon. Let's go in for now," Naruto told Shizen, and the two of them entered. Not too far from the entrance of the restaurant, a figure clad in a trench coat, a hat, and some big sunglasses face-palmed. "Oh my gosh! Those two are the biggest dorks in this village. So awkward. Why can't they just act normal?" She wondered to herself. A couple minutes after the two had been seated inside, she was called and she entered the restaurant separately, seated not too far from Naruto and Shizen, but still at a distance so they wouldn't notice her. "I'm gonna have to keep an eye on you awkward babies. Come on you two, just act normal for once," she whispered to herself as she pretended to read a newspaper as she watched them. Ironically, she didn't know she was the strangest one in that restaurant that night. Chapter 45, Smooth Sailing? Narumi dashed through the trees towards the source of commotion and despair. She didn't know what was going on to who, but she knew the person needed help, and while they were still in a competition, the genuine fear and anguish she sensed made her want to see if she could help. When she finally arrived at the site of the distress she sensed, she found a red-haired girl up in a tree, throwing whatever she could get her hands on towards a growling bear that was as ginormous in scale as all of the other creatures of this particular forest were in comparison to their regular counterparts. The girl in the tree continued to scream as she threw small branches and twigs she was able to break off in desperation. She seemed to have terrible aim, as barely any of her makeshift projectiles hit her mark, and even the ones she was able to land didn't seem to do any damage, as twigs didn't necessarily make for good projectiles, especially considering the massive size of the bear. The bear growled and tried to climb the tree again, even though its massive size prevented it from being able to scale this particularly young, and therefore small, tree. The girl continued to scream, both in fear and to attract help, when she sensed a massive chakra signature quickly approaching. Though the chakra was warm and soothing in general, its sheer size, which even dwarfed the incredibly massive source of chakra her teammates died to, and the bit of malicious chakra that lay hidden or suppressed beneath it, briefly scared her more than the bear. Narumi jumped towards the bear and used its head as a platform to jump up to land on the branch the other red-haired girl was taking refuge on. "Hi! I heard you screaming for help, so I came to see if I could do something for you. What's the problem?" Narumi asked the girl. The girl looked at the girl incredulously. She looked down at the still growling bear, and then back at Narumi. Was she crazy, or was it not obvious what her source of distress was? Also, why was she so nonchalant about this whole situation? You did see the bear down there that's still trying to kill me, right?" she asked Narumi. Narumi looked down at the bear and scratched the back of her head as she looked back at the girl sheepishly. Right. The bear," Narumi replied as if it was obvious. However, she was still a little confused. "So, you're hiding from the bear? Up here?" Narumi asked in curiosity. The girl couldn't understand the purpose of the question. Was this girl stupid or something? Yeah? Isn't that obvious?" she asked, barely managing to not sound condescending. "Okay, maybe I should have put it differently. Narumi said as she tried to ask what she was wondering in a clearer manner. I guess what I wanted to ask was why are you hiding from a bear in this tree, instead of just beating it up or running away? Narumi asked. Wasn't this girl a shinobi? What kind of shinobi was scared of some forest animal? Even if she was, what kept her from simply running away? While it was true that Narumi had a point, her judgment of what shinobi should be capable of was biased due to being surrounded by extraordinarily powerful shinobi that did in no way set the standard for what average shinobi should be capable of. As such, she genuinely could not understand the girl in distress. To Narumi, it was like a child crying that the flames of a candle is hot while not removing their finger from the fire. The other girl, however, still felt a little embarrassed. Were genin like her expected to be able to take on such a gargantuan beast? She couldn't help but feel a little incompetent at Narumi's innocent question. Well, I'm not exactly the combat type you see. Besides, the bear surprised me, and in my rush to climb this tree, I dropped my glasses, so I can't see anything properly. The girl answered, trying to come up with some legitimate excuse. Right around then, Sasuke and Hinata caught up with Narumi. Don't run off on your own like that, you idiot! Sasuke yelled as he huffed to catch his breath. When the bear saw two easier-to-access prey nearby, it turned its attention from the two redheads up the tree. The bear growled ferociously as it fell upon the two preteens, swiping at Hinata with its nearly 15-centimeter-long claws. Hinata easily dodged under the blow, and used her jukin to deliver multiple quick strikes into one of the forelegs of the bear, paralyzing it temporarily, much to the shock of the bear. Sasuke then leapt up into a flying roundhouse kick which struck the side of the bear's face, and the combination of lack of balance from one numb limb and kick to the face sent the bear crumpling to the floor. The girl in the tree could barely make out what was going on, but she was shocked to see Narumi's teammates easily handle the giant bear as if it were an academy student. Can't let you guys have all the fun! Narumi yelled out as she jumped down from the tree with an excited smile. Let's go! When the bear saw her excited face as she ran towards it, it realized she was probably like the other two, also not to be trifled with, and quickly scampered away before it was forced to take more damage than it needed to. Narumi didn't see any point in bullying a scared animal that was already running away, so she stopped chasing it once it left the small clearing. That's right! Better think twice before you attack a redhead next time! She yelled out at the fleeing bear. Yeah? Don't pretend like you had anything to do with it running away, idiot! Sasuke told Narumi. And don't run off on your own like that. What if you ran into someone dangerous? He scolded as he walked towards her. PSHH, whatever? You know I could have handled that bear too, so don't let it get to your head, Pinky. Narumi snapped back. Sasuke growled in annoyance when she called him that, before he noticed a shiny thing next to his foot, which he picked up and examined. Meanwhile, the girl saw that the coast was clear and tried to climb back down, but her lack of clear vision resulted in her falling midway. Sasuke quickly reacted and leapt to catch the girl before she hit the ground. Ag! The girl screamed wildly as she fell from her perch, before she fell into Sasuke's arms. However, even in his arms, she continued to kick and scream in fear, not realizing she was safe now. Hey, I caught you, you know. Why are you still screaming? Sasuke asked the girl in annoyance, who was still screaming and flailing around. Huh! The girl looked around and realized that she was indeed safe. Phew! I thought I was a goner. Thanks for catching me. Sasuke replied. Also, does this happen to be yours? He asked as he held up the glasses that were still in his hand. Are those my glasses? The girl asked as she quickly took the object out of his hands and put it on. The world seemed to snap back into focus when she put her glasses on. Now that she could see again, she took a look at her surroundings. When she looked towards her savior to thank him, she was shocked at how handsome he was, and her words died in her throat. An Adonis who was surely chiseled out of marble by the gods was before her. Her cheeks turned red when she realized she's still being held by him bridal style. She covered her red cheeks with her hands and turned her face away from him, unable to deal with all of the handsomeness right now. What luck! She always knew all of her terrible luck so far meant she'd have to get lucky eventually. Here she was, in the arms of her dreamy knight in shining armor who saved her from a savage beast. She wondered how she could thank him. How should I thank him? Maybe with a hug? No! Come on, this is a golden opportunity. I shouldn't waste it with something stupid like a hug. Should I reward him with a kiss? Yes, that sounds good, hee hee, on the lips? No, that's too forward. We've only just met. I might scare him away. A kiss on the cheek, maybe? Yes, that sounds about right. It's just enough to get him thinking about me, while showing that I appreciate his efforts. Kya! She closed her eyes and smiled as she daydreamed, sometimes clenching and shaking her fist close to her chest in excitement, as she squealed as her daydream became racier. Meanwhile, Team 7 looked at her like she was a little crazy. Had she taken a hit on the head from the bear? Or maybe she bumped her head on the way down. Can I put you down? Sasuke asked when his arms were starting to feel the strain of holding her up. You're starting to get a little heavy. Huh. The girl opened her eyes and remembered the situation she was in. She quickly, but a little reluctantly, got out of Sasuke's arms and stood before Team 7, a little embarrassed. Ahem. Sorry about that. I was lost in thought for a second. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for saving me. That's alright. Narumi replied. It looked like you could use the help. Where's your team anyway? Rude of them to just leave you alone like this. Karen sobered up when she remembered. Oh, well, they sorta abandoned me and got themselves killed. I was actually trying to leave this forest to forfeit, when that bear attacked me. Oh, sorry to hear about that. Narumi replied. The girl shook her head. Don't be. They were big jerks anyway. Besides, I warned them not to go towards the danger, but what do they do instead? They ignore me and go and get themselves killed. That's on them. Aha. I see. Narumi answered back awkwardly, not knowing what to say. Luckily for Narumi, Sasuke interrupted the awkward silence with his own question. And I'm guessing one of them held your team's scroll? The girl nodded. Sasuke shrugged. It's not like we needed yours anyway. We already have ours. Just thought it could be useful if we happened to come across our friends who didn't get one. The girl's eyes widened. Weren't they supposed to be one of the rookie teams? How had they already gotten the second scroll on the first day? They didn't even look the least bit scratched. She began to wonder if all the Konoha rookies were strong. So, what should we do now? Narumi asked her teammates. Well, we saved her, didn't we? Let's get back on finishing this part of the exam. If we finish today, we'll be able to rest longer than the others, and it might give us an advantage for the later stages. Besides, I'd rather not have to sleep out here in the forest if I don't have to, Sasuke replied. What about her? Narumi asked as she pointed towards the spectacled redhead. What about her? I'm sure she can walk herself out. It's not like we're her bodyguards or anything. We got her out of danger. We have our things to take care of too, you know, Sasuke pointed out. The girl in question stood there awkwardly as they discussed what to do with her, and much to her dismay, her handsome savior was all for letting her fend for herself in this dangerous forest. She understood they had no obligation to help her, and she'd just be a burden to them, but she still wanted to be protected. However, she knew she was not in the position to demand anything. But she's not much of a fighter. What if on the way out Narumi paused when she realized she never even got the girl's name. What was your name again? I'm Karen. Uzumaki Karen. Right, so anyway, what if on the way out, Karen dash? Narumi's eyes almost bulged out of her head, and her neck almost snapped when she turned her head to look at Karen in surprise when she realized what she had just heard. Did you just say you're an Uzumaki? Narumi stammered out, not sure if she had heard properly. Karen just looked at her in curiosity. Why was she freaking out? Yeah? Is that a problem? The rest of Team 7's eyes widened in surprise. What were the chances of meeting another Uzumaki? Especially one hailing from Kusa? They had thought that clan was comprised of just Naruto and Narumi. Why, you're from Narumi-chan's clan? Hinata asked in surprise. It was now Karen's turn to be surprised. She had a wider clan she was from? That was news for her. She had never heard in Kusa about anything related to the Uzumaki clan, and her mom had kept quiet on her family history. Looking at Narumi, however, the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. She had already felt some sort of connection to Narumi from their shared hair color, but she thought it would have been very presumptuous of her to assume any relation based on simple hair color. It wasn't like the Yamanaka were out there claiming all blondes as their own after all. Why, you're also an Uzumaki? Karen asked Narumi with a trembling voice. She thought she had no more remaining family members, but if this were all true, that meant her family, though extended family it may be, were still alive, and they lived in Konoha. With a voice shaky with emotion, both Narumi and Karen began to speak as they slowly approached each other. That means, we're cousins. We're sisters, both yelled out together. Huh? Sisters? Huh? Cousins? They wondered at the same time again. You know that's not how it works, right? We don't have the same parents, you know. Karen corrected Narumi. Well, who cares about the details? You're part of my family, and we're similar in age, so we're sisters now. Narumi yelled as she embraced Karen in a hug. Karen wanted to correct Narumi once again to explain that wasn't how the concept of siblings worked, but it had been years since she had last been embraced lovingly by anyone, let alone family. She decided to quash her desire to correct Narumi so she could enjoy the moment. She'd let it slide this once. Hinata smiled as she looked at the meeting of the two Uzumakis, happy for them. Sasuke was happy for Narumi as well, but he couldn't feel a bit jealous. He wondered if he had any other Uchiha members who were still alive out there that he didn't know about. It wasn't too preposterous to wonder if there were some Uchiha that were out of the village at the time of the massacre, was it? Hate to break up your little family reunion, but we're still in the middle of the second exam. Sasuke reminded them. We need to get going. Narumi glared at Sasuke. We can't just let Karen-chan walk out of here by herself. It's dangerous. She's family, and I'm not going to abandon her. Sasuke rolled his eyes. You know it's more condescending to assume she can't fend for herself, right? I'm sure she doesn't appreciate the fact that you consider her weak, right, Karen? I'm weak and can't fend for myself. Karen replied quickly without missing a beat. She really wanted to be escorted out. Ah. Sasuke replied, not sure what to say now. I see. Could we use one of your clones to escort her while we continue on? Hinata suggested. Narumi clapped her hands together. Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Duh! Kaigebunshin no Jutsu. With a small puff of smoke, two clones of Narumi formed next to her. Alright guys, you two take her out of this forest, and take her to Naruto Nai-chan. Naruto Nai-chan? Who's that? Is he one of us? Karen asked hopefully. How many Uzumaki were actually out there? Was she part of a big clan? Narumi gave her a smile and a nod. He's my brother! And head of our clan, if you want to be all technical, I guess. Karen gulped. Clan head? Now she was getting a bit nervous. Wait, was she even under his jurisdiction? I mean, she was part of a different village, right? How did that all work anyway? What did it even mean to be part of a clan? Should she even be nervous? Her mind was racing through at 100 miles an hour. Hinata could see that she was nervous and spoke up to try to ease her mind. Why, you don't have to be nervous. Naruto-sensei is quite kind and understanding. I'm sure he'll be happy to see you. Wait, Naruto-sensei? You mean he's your Jonin-sensei too? Gosh, how many roles does he play? What's next? Are you gonna tell me he's Hokage? Karen asked in surprise. Sasuke smirked. I mean, he should be Hokage if you asked me. But no. Unfortunately, he's not Hokage. At least not yet. Karen could see that each of the members of Team 7 had the utmost respect for this Naruto person and hoped everything would work out fine when they met. She didn't want some messy political quagmire to happen because of her strange status. Alright. Let's get going then, everyone. Looks like we've got a couple hours before it's completely dark. You two, dispel yourselves after you get her to Naruto and I, okay? Narumi shouted out before the two parties went their separate ways. On the way back to the Uchiha compound. Are you sure you don't want to eat with us? I'm sure Ka-san would love to have you over again. Izumi asked Mikoto as they walked back after a day of work. Mikoto gave her a smile but nodded. It's alright. I have some leftovers that I need to get to before they go bad. I appreciate the offer though, Izumi-chan. But that means you'll be eating alone, since Sasuke is out on his exams. I'd hate for you to eat alone, Mikoto-sama. I insist you come over. My Ka-san would be mad if she knew I left you to eat alone. You don't want me to get in trouble now, do you? Izumi asked persistently. Mikoto chuckled at Izumi's attempt to get her to come over again. Alright. You got me there. I didn't want to be a burden by going over so often, but if you insist, how can I refuse? Besides, I don't want you to get in trouble with your Ka-san. Great. I already told her you'd be coming over, so she's been braising some pork belly for Kakuni. It'll be delicious, Izumi said with excitement, causing Mikoto to giggle at her antics. The two women headed towards Izumi's house, with the younger lady linking her arm into the clan matriarch's. You've trained with him a bit, right? How do you think he'll do in the exams? Worried at all? Izumi asked Mikoto. I was surprised with how quickly he picked up techniques, and how quick he was on his feet. I can tell he's put in a lot of hard work. I imagine he'll do quite well. Still, as a mother, I can't help but to be a little worried, especially with him out in training ground 44 with all of those other people who won't hesitate to hurt him. I can see that, but I'd say you won't have to worry too much. I've trained with Narumi and Sasuke, and those kids. Woo. I mean, I was considered pretty strong for my age, but these guys are definitely stronger than I was at their age. I doubt any genin is going to be that much stronger than them, especially with the teamwork they have. Izumi replied. I hope so. It would be best if he became Chunin this time around, or he might be disappointed when he gets a new sensei. Izumi raised one eyebrow in confusion. Huh? New sensei? What are you talking about? Why would they get a new sensei? What about Naruto? Mikoto's eyes subtly darted around to see who was around them. Seeing that there weren't too many people around, she quietly began to speak to Izumi. It hasn't been publicly announced yet, but Hokage-sama has chosen Naruto to be his successor. He'll start training under Hokage-sama to take over after the end of the Chunin exams. Izumi couldn't believe her ears. Naruto? As Hokage? What? Wait, what? Naruto? As Hokage? Are you sure? Mikoto gave Izumi a glance. Yes. Why? Is there something wrong? No, it's not that. It's just that, I can't believe he actually agreed to be the Hokage. He hates that position. He might not like the position, but I'm sure he's aware of what it means to be in that position. He knows it's the best place for him to be most helpful to Narumi-chan and the village. Mikoto saw a frown form on Izumi's face. Why? What's wrong? You don't think he'll be a good Hokage? Izumi shook her head. No, I know he'll be a good Hokage, but he'll also be miserable. She couldn't help but frown. With Narumi's clones and Narumi's clones and Karen chatted as they headed towards the exit. It's nice to see how well you get along with your teammates, Karen told Narumi. What? Get along? Did you hear the way Sasuke talks to me? He calls me an idiot all the time, Narumi complained. Karen chuckled. Well, I wouldn't put 100% of the blame on him, though. Hey! What's that supposed to mean? Karen quickly skipped over that question by continuing to speak. It's obvious it's just friendly teasing. You know he still cares about you. It's different when they say stuff like that when they actually hate you, like my old teammates did. When they wish you weren't there. When they wish you didn't exist. After you spend so much time with them, you sometimes start to think they might have a point. Narumi frowned. This didn't sound like somebody else's problem. She knew what that was like. So, she wanted to help out if she could. Maybe she could try what worked for her. You know, those guys didn't deserve your time anyway. I say you shouldn't bother with people like that. You should just hang out with your other friends. Maybe you can ask to be moved to another team? Karen laughed, but it wasn't a laugh that made Narumi smile. Ha! Moved to a team with who? Hang out with who? That whole stupid village never accepted me as one of their own, though they like to keep me around for my abilities. My best friends there are books. Can you believe that? My best friends are basically ink that has been printed onto paper. Or maybe it's the imaginary characters the ink describes. Either way, I don't think they'd make for good teammates. Narumi felt awful. She thought she had it pretty tough, with people avoiding her or hating her, but she had friends like Sasuke or Hinata, or even the other members of the Seven. She never had to rely on stupid books to keep her company. She even had a brother who valued her more than anything, while Karen's mother died when she was young. Narumi realized that some people had lives that were worse than hers, which made her sad. Why don't you live here? In Konoha with us? This is where your family is, right? Besides, those jerks in Kusa don't deserve you anyway. I'd love to be your friend, and I'm sure my friends would too. Karen thought about it hopefully for a second, but then a quick realistic thought made her realize that this was just a pipe dream. You know, it's not like I can just live wherever, whenever I want. It doesn't matter if people like me or not. At the end of the day, I'm an asset to Kusa, even if they just see my powers instead of seeing me as a person. They'd never give me up for nothing. Then why don't you pretend you died in the forest with your other teammates? Then they wouldn't look for you, right? Narumi asked. Karen shook her head. First of all, There's no guarantee that would even work. Second, even if it somehow worked in the beginning, the moment they found out, it would be a political disaster. Imagine how the rest of Konoha's allies would view Konoha if they just randomly took and hid assets from other villages. Even if the smaller villages couldn't attack Konoha directly, they'd be prone to backstabbing once the trust between them is gone. It's not possible. Narumi frowned again, trying to come up with other solutions. It made her head hurt. You know what? We should just ask Naruto and Ai-chan. He always seems to have solutions, Narumi suggested. Karen shrugged. She didn't see any solutions, but if this Naruto person was as great as Narumi said he was, maybe he could come up with something else. It didn't hurt to ask, right? With Team 7, Sasuke smirked when he saw the tower in the distance. It looked like it couldn't be more than 30 minutes away. His team could thank him for his brilliant strategy soon, when they arrived at the tower on the first day without any difficulties or snags. Man, this has been smooth sailing the whole time. Honestly, the first exam was tougher than this one. This is too easy. All we did was fight a weak team that underestimated us, and a scaredy bear. Give me that over a written test any day, Narumi commented. Hinata giggled at Narumi's comment before she activated her Byakugan for her periodic checkups of their surroundings, to see if there was anything that slipped by the ring of clones that was around them, and Sasuke's Sharingan. She didn't notice much, and was about to deactivate it, when she noticed a chakra signature quickly approaching them from beneath the ground. Sasuke-kun, there's something approaching us from underground, she shouted out as she pointed in the direction it was coming from. Huh! Was all Sasuke and Narumi could manage to say as they turned, when a massive snake exploded out of the ground, aiming to swallow Narumi whole. Narumi drew her sword on reflex as she stepped to the side. Grara! She shouted, as she held her sword tightly with both hands, holding it sideways to use the snake's own momentum against it to cut deeply into the side of its mouth and down its side, like a pair of scissors might glide down a large sheet of paper, as it passed by between her and Sasuke. The snake promptly vanished in a puff of smoke, shrieking in pain as it vanished. The fact that it vanished instead of dying at their feet was not lost on the members of Team 7. What the? Was that a summon or something? Sasuke wondered, being the only one of them who was familiar with ninja summons. But what kind of genin has a summon? Kukuku. I wanted to get you out of the way while I had my fun with these two, but you're proving to be interesting too. How fun. A kunoichi who appeared to be from Kyuubi with a wide straw hat covering her eyes commented as she stepped through the cloud of dust that resulted from the lunge of the massive snake. The three members of Team 7 were immediately on guard as they fanned out around the sole kunoichi to make sure they had the better angle of attack. Though they had the numerical advantage, something about the way the kunoichi carried herself as if she had nothing to fear made Team 7 feel on edge. They didn't even realize they were slightly trembling, scared for some unknown reason they couldn't quite put their fingers on. You know we outnumber you 3-1, right? Do you really think you can take all three of us on at the same time? Narumi asked the kunoichi in a voice that sounded less sure than she thought it would sound. Though she tried to sound tough, her asking the question instead of attacking the kunoichi right away secretly revealed their subconscious fear to the kunoichi. The kunoichi laughed as she licked her lips with her strangely long tongue. Kukuku, the question you really should be asking is... She tilted up her hat, revealing her yellow, slitted eyes to the three shocked genin. Is the three of you enough to handle me? Sasuke angrily gritted his teeth. TCH, don't underestimate us just because we're rookies. Katan, Hozenka no Jutsu. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Flower Technique. Sasuke sent several balls of flame flew towards the kunoichi, coming at her from various angles that was meant to make it difficult for her to dodge them all. The kunoichi, however, chuckled as she easily dodged each of the fireballs in a strange manner that Sasuke didn't expect, as she twisted and moved her body in a disturbingly flexible way which seemed like it shouldn't be humanly impossible. Kukuku. I hope that's not all you got in your bag of tricks, Sasuke-kun. I'd be very disappointed if it was. The kunoichi cooed out, surprising Sasuke at the fact that some random foreign kunoichi knew his name specifically. However, that attack was just a cover for a setup. With a smirk he pulled his hands back, revealing ninja wire which bound up the kunoichi. How'd you like that for a bag of tricks? Sasuke said with a grin. So, you attached ninja wire to the shuriken that were hidden in the Hozenka, eh? Kukuku, not bad. Now that's more like it. The kunoichi commented, without a hint of concern in her voice, even though her movement had been completely restricted by the ninja wires. You do realize you're all tied up, right? Now hand over your scroll before we have to take it from you by force. Narumi shouted out at her. Oh? Is that right? Why don't you come and show me how exactly you'll do that? The kunoichi said jeeringly. Narumi quickly looked at her teammates for confirmation, and when Sasuke nodded back, she walked up to the tied-up kunoichi, intending to intimidate her. Don't test our patience! Hurry up and give us your scroll! Narumi shouted out, glaring at her menacingly. Oh, you mean this little thing? The kunoichi chuckled before regurgitating a scroll from her mouth, wrapped around her strangely long tongue. You! Gross! But yes! Hand it over! The kunoichi smirked before replying. Or what? Or we'll be forced to hurt you! Narumi shouted back. For a few seconds, the kunoichi said nothing as she stared at Narumi with a creepy smile on her face. Then she swallowed the scroll whole. Narumi looked back at Sasuke and Hinata, unsure of what to do in such a strange situation. Sasuke gestured for her to rough up the kunoichi. Narumi turned around and half-heartedly slapped the kunoichi. Bring it back out! Oh, come on now, Narumi-chan! Don't tell me this is all you've got! Will you hit harder if I killed sweet little Hinata-chan over there? Narumi's eyes tightened in fury. How dare she? If you wanted me to hurt you, you could have just asked! Narumi shouted as she stepped in to deliver a devastating front kick into the tied-up kunoichi's sternum. The kunoichi didn't even attempt to move, meeting Narumi's kick with a smile on her face. Narumi landed her kick with a sickening thud, which lurched Sasuke slightly forward as the wires pulled him when the kunoichi was sent tumbling to the ground. Sasuke and Hinata were rather surprised at Narumi's brutal kick, as she would have usually not been so hard on an already bound-up captive, but they too felt slightly off and felt uncomposed from the Kusa kunoichi's uncanny behavior, so they couldn't blame her. They almost thought the situation was over but were shocked when they saw the Kusa kunoichi crumble away into mud. What? What the heck? Narumi said in shock as she took a step back. Oh, come on now. You didn't really expect to be the only one who could make clones, now did you, Narumi-chan? The Kusa kunoichi asked mockingly from behind Narumi, which caught all of Team 7 by surprise as they hadn't seen her move behind Narumi. The kunoichi struck with her first offensive move, delivering a lightning-quick roundhouse kick, which was a blur to even Sasuke's activated Sharingan, to Narumi's side before she could even turn around to face her, sending her tumbling on the forest floor. Now, what were you saying about me being all tied up? Hinata activated her Byakugan and flew at the kunoichi, going all out on her with a flurry of Juken strikes aimed at key pressure points. The creepy smile never left the kunoichi's face as she twisted and bent her body in unnatural ways to dodge all of Hinata's lightning-quick strikes. Sasuke tried to help by throwing well-aimed shuriken at spots his Sharingan predicted the kunoichi would move to next, but her strange, unconventional movement hampered his pattern-reading eye's effectiveness. When Narumi picked herself off of the floor and flew at the kunoichi with her blade, the Kusa genin easily dodged her slash by leaning back so far as to almost touch the ground with the back of her head, before she grabbed Narumi by the wrist of her sword arm. The Kusa kunoichi then spun around as she straightened back up. Displaying an unexpected amount of strength from her lithe frame, she swung Narumi at Hinata, who was still striking as quickly as she could, hoping to land at least one proper hit so she could slow down this mysterious attacker. When Narumi came flying at her, Hinata was able to duck underneath the arms of Narumi and the kunoichi, and used the brief moment where Narumi blocked the kunoichi's vision to lunge forward like a fencer to jab the kunoichi's forearm which was holding onto Narumi. Hinata was able to land a successful hit for the first time, and not wanting to waste the opportunity, she pumped a deadly surge of chakra into the kunoichi's forearm, enough to permanently damage her chakra coils there. She thought she could maybe even blow off the kunoichi's arm if she put in a little more. She was surprised when the arm did indeed explode, despite the fact that she thought she didn't put in enough chakra to achieve those results. She looked at the kunoichi in shock, as she didn't intend to be that brutal, only to see her once again melt away into mud. Oh my! That's quite the strike, Hinata-chan. Just what I'd expect from the Hyuga clan heiress. The kunoichi commented before she jumped down from the tree branch she emerged from to avoid a hail of shurikens Sasuke threw at her. Well, if you liked it so much, there's more where that came from. Let's go, Hinata-chan! Narumi yelled out before she charged at the kunoichi with Hinata. Narumi, Sasuke, and Hinata showed exceptional teamwork as they weaved between each other's attacks to attack the kunoichi from various angles, heights, and distances, coming at her like a storm that would have devoured most chunin. However, the kunoichi still easily glided through each attack, twisting and bending her body at unexpected angles to let the punches, kicks, shurikens, slashes, and juken strikes glide past her, not even bothering to hit back at Team 7, as if she was merely dancing with them instead of fighting. How is she doing that? Narumi growled out as her well-practiced sword slash missed her mark again. It almost feels like I'm fighting Nai-chan, but just stranger. Kukuku, you can't dream of defeating me with your pathetic half-assed attempts of defeating me. If you want even the smallest chance of laying a finger on me, you'll need to come at me with the intent to really kill me, the kunoichi said condescendingly. Sasuke had enough of this game. If she wanted to die so badly, he'd indulge her. He began to weave through a string of hand seals to use a jutsu he had been working on refining. Katon, Ryuka no Jutsu! Fire release, dragon flame technique. A thick stream of fire starting from Sasuke's mouth flew towards the three fighting kunoichi, burning everything in its path as it threatened to do the same to the combatants. Narumi and Hinata kept the kunoichi busy until the last second, before they kawaramied out of there, hoping to catch her in the flames. The silhouette of the kunoichi writhed in the flames before it melted away into mud again. Shit! When did she get out of there? Sasuke wondered, as he was sure Hinata could tell the difference between the original and the clone, and had been keeping the original busy this whole time. The kunoichi emerged from another tree, unharmed once again, with a manic smile on her face. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of killing intent I want to see from you. Team 7 grimaced as the strange kunoichi lectured them on how they should try to kill her. However, she began. She tilted up her hat again to show her predatory eyes. Why don't I show you what true killing intent is supposed to feel like? With Karen and Narumi's clones, Karen and Narumi exited the forest after Karen signed the forms for forfeiting at one of the gates of Training Ground 44. They then began to search for Naruto, so they could get Naruto and Karen introduced, and to come up with a solution on what to do with Karen. I'm actually not 100% sure where he'd be right now. What does he do when we're not around anyway? Narumi wondered out loud. Could he be at your house? Karen asked. Maybe. We could try looking for him there, Narumi replied before she turned around to lead Karen home. Let's go! Uzumaki home, here we come! A few minutes later, they arrived at a large house. Karen looked up in awe, as the somewhat modest two-story building was still quite large with numerous apparent rooms and a wide yard. It was nothing like her tiny, dilapidated house in Kusa. Is this our clan compound? She asked Narumi. Compound? My guess? It's more like our house. We didn't really have too many members, so we didn't need too big of a house, Narumi replied as she opened the door. Welcome to your clan house. Make yourself at home, since it might actually become your house soon. Karen stepped into the house and took a look around. She was greeted by a clean, spacious, well-managed home, which was spotless, but still cozy. Wow, this is nice, Karen mumbled to herself, as she took in the sight. She assumed Naruto was very different from Narumi, judging by the numerous books that lined the shelves in the living room. Sealing? Is your brother into that? Karen asked. Yup. So am I. It's supposed to be our clan specialty, so maybe you could learn it too. We could learn together. Oh, it'll be so much fun. I'm excited already, one of Narumi's clones replied, while the other one opened up a pack of instant ramen. Hey! We're supposed to be looking for Naruto and I, not eating ramen, the other clone shouted at the clone who was preparing the instant ramen. Besides, we're clones. What's the point? The clone with the ramen lazily waved off the stricter clone. Yeah, whatever. We can still taste, you know. Might as well make the most of being home. Go and look for Nai-chan while I eat for the both of us, will ya? The stricter clone rolled her eyes as she began to look for Naruto further inside the house, while the other clone sat at the table to wait for her ramen to finish cooking. A few minutes later, the stricter clone emerged from the rooms. Yeah, he's not here. Let's go, guys. Let's look somewhere else. The clone with the ramen looked up at the stricter clone with sad puppy dog eyes. BB, but the ramen just finished cooking. She stuck out her lower lips and let her big eyes sparkle sadly. Yeah, no. I'm not an Ai-chan. That face isn't going to work on me, sister. Let's go, the strict clone told the other clone, as she grabbed her by the arm and pulled. No! My ramen! The hungry clone wailed as she was dragged away. Wait, we're just going to leave that ramen there? Karen asked the strict clone. Yes. We've got to find Naruto and Ai-chan. Let's go! Karen's stomach growled loudly right at that moment, causing Karen's cheeks to go red, matching her eyes and her hair. She had forgotten she hadn't eaten anything since before the first exam. You mind if I grab that then? I mean, it'd be a shame to let a perfectly fine cup of ramen go to waste, right? I can eat while we walk. I promise I won't slow us down. The stricter clone sighed. She wasn't about to let her newly found sister go hungry. Fine. You can have that. I guess we can wait for a moment while you eat. Oh. Sweet. In that case, I'll use that time to prepare another cup. The less strict clone sang as she broke out of the strict clone's grip and ran for the ramen closet. The strict clone shook her head as she sighed. Sigh. Make me one too while you're at it. With Team 7, the genin of Team 7 were absolutely frozen in terror as the mysterious Kunoichi unleashed her frighteningly powerful killing intent. It felt like they were rats in the presence of a snake that wanted to swallow them whole. They had never felt anything like this in their entire lives. Cuckoo, now, which little rabbit should I eat first? The Kunoichi wondered to herself as she licked her lips. The 3 genin of Team 7 all had the same thought as they trembled in fear. What kind of genin was this? Omake Shizen sat at the table wondering when Izumi would come. Sure, she had known Naruto for years now, but this was her first time being alone with him. Usually, Narumi and Tsunade would take over the conversations and interactions with their big personalities, and people like Naruto and Shizen would be more of a secondary character, reacting to Narumi or Tsunade's antics. Now that they were alone, she realized she didn't really know Naruto all that well apart from Narumi. She really hoped Izumi would come soon and be that big personality that would help them mesh. Meanwhile, Naruto was annoyed. Did Izumi think he was stupid? Not only could he sense her, but he could also see her in her stupid oversized trench coat looking at them through a stupid newspaper with holes in them. She wasn't even that far away. How did nobody else notice her? She was basically asking to be seen. He couldn't understand what the hell she was doing, but he stayed quiet about it. For now. He knew he was gonna spend big bucks on this thank you meal for Shizen, and it would be better if he didn't have to pay for Izumi too, since he knew Izumi would have chosen something expensive to mess with him. An awkward silence hung over the table with Shizen subtly looking towards the door, waiting for Izumi to show up, and Naruto subtly giving Izumi the stink eye. As such, they were both relieved when the waiter finally brought them the menu. That relief, however, was short-lived, dying as soon as they opened up the menu. Naruto had been ready to spend a lot of money, but it was still shocking to see how expensive the food was. He was glad he wasn't here with Narumi and vowed to keep her away from this part of town when he saw the price for the Wagyu ramen. He didn't want to overspend if he didn't have to by buying something unnecessarily expensive, but he didn't want to look cheap either by buying the cheapest thing on the menu, which was still somewhat expensive. He decided he would just buy something that was close in price range to whatever Shizen chose. He looked up to see if Shizen had chosen. Huh? Are you serious? The sushi set is over 30,000 ryo? What are they putting on there, gold? Oh my gosh, they actually do put gold on some of them. What a ridiculous way to raise the price. It doesn't even do anything for the taste. That's totally a scam. Maybe I'll go for something more simple like a danburi. What? The unadon is 10,000 ryo? Fine. I guess sanegi is somewhat expensive. Wait, why is the tendon so expensive too? Is there anything that's actually reasonably priced here? Shizen mumbled quietly to herself as she flipped the pages of the menu back and forth. Naruto smiled when he saw Shizen raging at the menu prices like he did. It was nice to see a woman that didn't enjoy spending his money so much, unlike everyone in his life, including Narumi. He still had nightmares when he remembered the bill from Narumi's 7th birthday lunch. Head? They even have grapes that cost over 20,000 ryo? Grapes? How is that even possible? Are the grapes going to cure cancer? Naruto smirked. Yeah, she was alright with him. Listen, why don't you let me order something for us? Is there something you don't like or can't eat? Not in particular, but it's really fine. I don't want to spend too much money here anyway. I'll just choose something reasonably priced, if they have anything like that here, that is. Shizen replied. Don't worry about the price. I'll be paying for it. I wanted to thank you for training Hinata and for being so nice to Narumi anyway. Are you sure? I didn't train Hinata for any kind of reward, you know. Same with Narumi. I'm nice to her because I like her. I don't think it's something I need to be rewarded for. Naruto gave her a rare smile that Shizen saw for the first time. She realized he was actually kind of handsome when he smiled. It's not a reward. It's just me trying to say thank you. I insist on paying for it. Naruto replied. He picked up the menu and looked over it, picking a few things in his mind. I hope you're okay with the kaiseki set? Shizen nodded. Even if she didn't eat it often, she definitely could enjoy gourmet food when presented with it. Izumi had to try so hard not to squeal in glee when she saw Naruto giving Shizen one of his genuine smiles and ordering food for her. It was like they were on an actual date. This was going great. She put down the newspaper and opened up the menu once it was brought to her. She didn't really care about the prices, since she had already planned on putting it on Naruto's tab. Hee hee. I'll just consider this my commission for helping him find the perfect girl for him. Everything was going to plan. Good show? Check. Good meal? Check. Life was good. She had just ordered a delicious-looking sushi set, and put down her menu with a smile on her face, when she noticed a familiar face in the restaurant. Wait, is that? At the other side of the restaurant was a man named Jiro she had arrested a few weeks ago, a man who had been obsessed with a girl and had been following her around, against her wishes. He had gotten himself a restraining order, and was ordered not to be within 100 meters of her. But here he was, wearing an oversized trench coat, hiding behind some stupid newspaper. Did he really think that was a good disguise? What a loser. She followed his line of vision and saw the girl he was ordered to stay away from. Oh hell no. This is not happening. Nah. Not on my watch. She got up and walked quietly over towards the man. The man nervously looked around the room to make sure the woman he was following didn't see him, and to make sure nobody he knew was around, when he spotted a familiar angry face approaching him. He squinted his eyes trying to remember who it was, before he realized who it was. Oh shit! It's the cops! He shouted quietly to himself, before he took off, escaping from the restaurant. Now Izumi was pissed. She wanted to quietly and discreetly warn him and go back to enjoying her dinner while watching the show that was Naruto and Shizen's date, but now she had to go through the effort of chasing down this slippery eel. She sighed before followed him out of the restaurant. Once she exited the restaurant, she looked to the right and left, trying to see where he went. Damn. For a civilian, he was pretty damn quick. Was he a dropout from the academy or something? She activated her Sharingan to pick up any clues and spotted some shoe prints that suggested someone had run away towards the alleys. Sigh. I'm gonna hurt this guy when I find him for making me go through this crap again. 1 hour later, Izumi ran back to the restaurant as quickly as possible, after dropping off the man. She didn't want to miss what was going on in Naruto and Shizen's date. Izumi was worried that she might have spent more time than she intended to, giving the man some friendly punches as a warning, and picked up the pace. When she returned to the restaurant, she was allowed back into the restaurant after explaining what happened. However, when she finally entered the restaurant, she saw no sign of Naruto and Shizen. Unfortunately for her, she couldn't even leave at this point, since the chef had already made her food. She grumbled angrily as she ate her delicious sushi. She wished she gave that man a few more blows for making her waste her precious time while she was off duty. Freaking Jiro, what part of stay away from her didn't he understand, making me miss the whole show? Grr. Still, the food was good, so she consoled herself with that. At least she wouldn't have to pay. She got up and prepared to leave when the waiter brought the bill to her. Wait, I thought I told you to put this on Naruto's bill? We were a party of 3. Well, you see, Uzumaki-sama made it clear that they were a party of 2, and that he wouldn't be paying for anything else. I'm afraid you will have to foot this bill. Izumi opened the check with trembling hands. Her eyes widened when she saw the bill. Damn you, Jiro! Life was not good.